Mhm.
Hi guys, how you doing? That was a solid intro. Let me give you a little more information just so you know my background, who I am, and all that. My name is Rylend Grant. I have for about 16 years worked as a screenwriter in Hollywood. I've written movies and TV shows, mostly poppy action movies for folks like J.J. Abrams, Ridley Scott, Luke Besson, John Woo, Justin Lin, and on and on and on like that. I swerved into the comic book lane maybe 5 years ago or so. My first book was released via Action Lab Danger Zone. It was called Aberrant. It is a political action thriller, kind of a homage to the paranoid thrillers of the '70s, like Marathon Man and 3 Days of the Condor, stuff like that. This won a Ringo Award in 2019 for Best Villain. It was nominated for two others. I was nominated for Best Writer, and it was nominated for Best Single Issue. My latest book in the comic shops is called Banjax, kind of a Death Wish with a superhero, dark superhero noir. This was nominated for 4 Ringo Awards last year, including Best Series next to Something's Killing the Children and a couple other great books like that, Bitterroot, which won us and beat us. And so I, for a good long time, released books in the comic shops, and it treated me very well. And that's great if you can do it. The problem is COVID hit, right? And it changed the entire landscape. And I think that, COVID kind of poured gasoline over a fire that was already kind of lit and established. Comics right now, it's kind of where the music industry was when Napster came about. I mean, we were in this place with the music business where basically if you wanted to release an album, there were 5 people that released albums, and you had to get in with one of those companies, and they were sort of the gatekeepers, the arbiter of all this stuff. And then Napster came along, and the internet blew up, and iTunes and all these things, and now people, they make music in their basement on their laptop, and they release it via Spotify or iTunes or something like that. The audience is completely fractured. There are very few gatekeepers now. Those 5 companies mean a lot less than they used to, and we're seeing the same thing happen with comics. And to kind of get to the point and to the Kickstarter of it all, I think Kickstarter is really kind of like the front lines of this fight. It was just a couple of years ago where people like you, guys like me, we had to wait to get permission from a publisher to make our books. Um, Getting the money to make your book was a big deal too. With these books, I come from the film business, so I treated them like little films that I was making. I would go out and I'd find investors. It can cost you 15 to 20 grand in art to get one of these things made. This is 4 issues of a comic book. That's not cheap. I don't know about you guys. I'm not a rich man. I don't have that lying around. And so the beauty of Kickstarter is there are these funding possibilities, right? It's a place where you can go and you can get your budget, you can recoup your budget for one of these things. And it is a place where you can take it directly to the consumer. Again, you don't need permission. I mean, Image, Dark Horse, they only publish certain things. They're looking for certain things. If they have something that's kind of like it, they're not even going to listen to you. Um, that's a gauntlet. That's hard to go. But with Kickstarter, you can just kind of make your book. You make it the way you want to make it, the way the way you envision it. And if it is good, you will find an audience for it, and you will make money off of it. And so when COVID hit, things changed for me. I had 2 books that were about to be announced and released by big publishers, and then suddenly it was pencils down everywhere. Suddenly people were getting fired everywhere, and I had all of these kind of titles in the pipe, and I had to do something with them, right? I wanted them to kind of see the light of day. So I launched my first Kickstarter last year for a book called The Jump. And of course, we're talking about the issue 2 campaign right now, but issue 1 went live last summer on Kickstarter. We made about $15,000 on issue 1, 335 backers or something like that. I followed that up 3 or 4 months later with another series called The Peacekeepers. We made about $15,000 on one issue. Also, this is kind of like a Fargo-esque crime drama. Two very different books, and I'll have some stuff to say about genre and how they treat how audiences on Kickstarter react to certain genres. There's certain things it's kind of like catnip for Kickstarter backers. They love fantasy, they love sci-fi. The Jump is a paranoid thriller set in the world of astral projection. It is high concept sci-fi, and the folks on Kickstarter love it. Kind of a thinking man's crime drama is a harder sell, and you got to work a lot harder to get 15 grand out of a book like this than a book like this that kind of sells itself on Kickstarter. So I guess that's the first lesson: know your audience. But so that was a lot, but I wanted you to know my journey before we kind of dove right into this. So I thought that the easiest thing to do would be just to kind of take you through my campaign. I mean, there were a lot of questions when we did our kind of group panel, right? A lot of people, we kind of gave you an overview. This is why Kickstarter is good, and here are some tips and stuff like that. But there were hundreds of questions at the end of it that didn't get answered, and they were all specific. Like, well, what do I do in this case, and how do I build this campaign, and what's the best way to tweak this, and what about rewards, and what about backer perks, and all of these things. And so I just built and staged a campaign. And so I thought the best way to kind of answer all of those questions organically is just to take you through my campaign step by step, my build, show
Hey,
you how I
Ryland.
did. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. We had a question from Zach that actually was, what spurred the shift to comics, and what were the biggest dynamic shifts from screen and TV writing to comics?
Oh, for me.
Yes.
So what was the shift to comics? I'm going to try to make this not a half hour long answer, but comics are my first love. I've always wanted to do comics. I actually tried to make comics when I was back in college, but back then it was extremely hard. You basically had to know an artist in your town. You're dealing with physical drawings. Revisions were a massive pain in the ass. Where do you find a colorist? Where do you find a letterer when you're in Michigan? That's where I was at the time. And so I tried and failed. But very recently, it got about 95% easier to make comics. And easy is the wrong word. More possible is probably the way to put it. It's never easy. I mean, this is like, do not get into this if you are like faint of heart, or if you're not, willing to put in 110%, because it is it's like raising a child. It's you're crying some of the times. It's very difficult, but what happened was digital workflow happened, right? Now almost all of my artists, they haven't drawn on paper in like 5 years. So everything's done digitally. Huge files are just kind of traded via Dropbox, and revisions happen in a second, and that became a huge deal. What really revolutionized things and made things more possible is kind of comics kind of spilling into social media. If you are looking for an artist, if you're looking for collaborators, they've never been easier to find. So there are these massive groups on Facebook. There's a group called Connecting Comic Book Writers and Artists that I think has 29,000 members, and really all it is a like gallery of artists, and some of them are good, and some of them are great, and some of them are still learning. But it's just you just go there, and it's one person after another. Here's my art, here's my rate, I'm looking for work. And so it kind of like made this a worldwide enterprise. You no longer had to know someone in your town to work with them. You can work with someone all the way, all the way around the world, right? And so cut to a few years later, I found my first artist online, and he was Polish. And luckily for me, he kind of spoke English, and we sort of started the collaboration that way. But cut to 5 years later, and me kind of learning how this system works. I have about 5 books in the pipe right now. I have artists working for me in Brazil, in Portugal, in Hungary. My go-to colorist is in Indonesia. My letterer is in the UK. We communicate almost exclusively via email. A lot of them don't even speak English. I send them a message. It goes into Google Translate. They understand about 95% of what I'm saying. That final 5% can be a little more a little difficult sometimes to work out, but we iron it out. I pay them via PayPal. All the artists traded via Dropbox, and I've published a ton of books this way. So that was the case. That was part of it. It became more possible. Comics were my first love. But what I found is that it's not enough these days to be a screenwriter. I think that, or just a novel writer or a comic writer. You have to be a writer in general in order to kind of survive in this business with this work. Um, there was a huge shift in Hollywood not too long ago to IP. It used to be that in the first couple of years of my career, you could just write a spec script, meaning like you write a script that no one paid you to write. You just write it on your own. If it was good, you'd take it out and you'd sell it. That was when original ideas were selling like crazy. And I did that for a couple of years, but then the financial crisis happened. Hollywood completely remade the way they did business. The age of IP starts, intellectual property, meaning books, video games, everything had to be based on something. And so I had a few lean years trying to sell original ideas, and at some point I got wise, and I just kind of figured, like, it just hit me like, look, if they want IP, I'm going to give them IP. And so I took an idea that I had been trying to sell as a movie for a long time and couldn't, and I wrote it as a short story. I got the short story published, and then kind of overnight we had this bidding war over it. We had Justin Lin on one side coming off the Fast and Furious 6 opening, which was the largest opening in Universal summer history at that point, and we had Brett Ratner and Robert De Niro on the other side, and Tyler Perry made an offer, and blah 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 blah. And so my reps, my agent, my manager, they kind of thought it was a fluke, but I knew it wasn't a fluke, and so I set out to do it again, and I did it about 5 or 6 more times with short stories, and now I'm doing it with comics. And Aberrant, my first book, 2 weeks before the second issue hit comic shops, it had been optioned for television by Tony Krantz, who produced 24 and Felicity and a bunch of other stuff. So that was a little longer than I wanted it to be, but that's most of it. So keep the questions coming, and like Eric said, if we don't get to them, if they fit into the flow of this presentation, I'm going to answer them in the moment. If they don't, we will get to them at the end. I promise. I will stand here and I will answer all your questions. I'm sure there'll be plenty of them, but let me. I'm going to go ahead and take control of the screen right now. Okay, so you're seeing that okay, Eric?
Yes, everything looks great.
Okay, let me see what we're gonna do. Okay, so this is the jump 1 and 2. If you want to go ahead and bring that up on your screens too, and you can kind of look ahead of where I'm going and see. Let me say just right off the bat, it's a great project. I think I've been doing this for a long time. I think this is one of the best things I've ever written. So if it sounds good to you at the end of this, and you appreciate what you've heard, consider backing it. So we launched yesterday morning. We are 30 some odd hours in right now, and we are about 80% funded. We got the project we love stamp, which is a big deal. That kind of helps you get promoted internally. Let me see. I'm gonna look at my outline here and figure out where we're gonna be. So give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get all my notes in order here. So it can feel like this massive undertaking building one of these things. I mean, I had threatened to do a Kickstarter campaign for years. I mean, it took me 2 years of hemming and hawing before I finally committed to it. And even when I finally committed to it, it was almost like there was a gun to my head. Again, it was like the pandemic had started. All the comic shops, all of the comic publishers were closed. I had to find some way to kind of get these things out there. And we were in this place when the pandemic hit that people were terrified to put things on Kickstarter. because they didn't know, again, like when a lot of people lost their jobs and nobody knew if people would actually be backing on Kickstarter. So there was this kind of black hole when the pandemic started on Kickstarter for a while. And so comic projects dropped to absolutely zero, right? There was nothing on there. But according to all of the Kickstarter metrics, the number of backers had not reduced. So there were still people on the site, still hungry for projects, and that's still the case now. And so this call went out from Kickstarter Central, just people being like, hey, we need comic projects, bring us what you have. And so when I jumped into Kickstarter last summer, with 2 feet howling, howling at the moon, and man, people were ready to go. And it has been rewarding and it has been awesome. But like I said, it can feel like this massive undertaking. The thing I will say right off the bat is that there was a learning curve to this. Like it can be a pain in the ass to build your first campaign. But once you get that first one built, you have kind of slayed most of the monster. Now I'm on my third one, right? And there's almost an autopilot to it now. I've kind of learned the process. And so when I built this third campaign, there's just a lot of cutting and pasting that happens. It's almost like I've built the equation. I just have to kind of input new variables. And then of course it gets a ton easier if you're doing, this is issue 2 of a campaign I've already kickstarted. So a lot of the language ends up being the same, right? And so I'm wondering, Eric, do you think, are they going to be able to hear this video if I run it?
So what you want to do is next to share screen, there's a little, when you share screen, you should be able to share audio as well. Otherwise, it might not come through.
Next to share screen.
So if you go down to the bottom of or wherever your toolbar is, it's invisible to us. If you click share screen, you should have the option to share audio. And if not, you can unshare and then reshare.
I can do share sound. Okay.
Nice.
I will do that.
Before you continue, one question that somebody asked, Nathan asked, "Are you personally setting up all this layout yourself for the Kickstarter?"
Well, yeah, and it fits into a template. Kickstarter has a very easy to use template that you can just kind of move in. There are times where I deviate. There are no opportunities for like coding or anything here. There's none of that. It's all pretty easy to use. You can make it look a little more fancy, and if you put a little effort in, and I'll show you where I did that, it can really make a big deal. But for the most part, you're just kind of filling in columns, and I'll take you back behind that and show you. I think the easiest thing to start is to start with is let me make sure I didn't miss anything before you launch. Just having a hard time getting a hold of my. Sorry, guys, I'm still just kind of getting the hang of this, but 1 second. Okay, so the first thing you're going to fill out. So this right here is kind of behind the curtain. This is what I see when I'm building a project. This is kind of the Kickstarter interface here. So you have these kind of these headings. You have basics, you have rewards, you have story, you have people, you have payment. We'll get into all that. But when you start out, you're going to this basics tool, and this is just kind of the general overall arching stuff. And I'll go into kind of what makes these things. So so the first thing is you have your project title. You have a title and a subtitle, and there are a couple of schools of thought on your title and your subtitle. A lot of people will say just keep your title. Mine is the jump 1 and 2 from Ringo Award winner Rylend Grant. A lot of people will say just keep it very simple. So a lot of people would say just make it the jump 1 and 2. It's short, it's sweet. There's no need for fluff or anything here. I am a big proponent of kind of like leading with your strengths, right? It's something I'll talk about, and it's something you'll see echoed through this entire build, is that there are like literally 1,000 other projects on this platform, right? And in a few seconds, with a single look, you need to give them a reason to buy your book. You need to tell them why folks should buy your book instead of the 1,000 others on the platform. And you hope, of course, that they stop and they read the preview and all of these things. But a lot of people won't give you that time. If you don't grab them, if you don't grab them with the project title, if you don't grab them with the video, if you don't grab them in the first couple of columns, then they're just going to move on to the next thing. So, boil it down. And this is what I do. It helps me. Like, I will do I'll do like a publisher pitch document before I do these things, where I try to boil my entire project down, the story, the themes, the selling points, into like a page or 2 pages for a publisher. And when I do that, it really helps me. I can just kind of extract things for the project. And so, for me, it becomes kind of obvious what the selling point is, right? I've won. I mean, the first thing is I've won a Ringo Award. I've been nominated for what is it, like 6 others, right? And that's a big deal in the business. The Ringo Awards is one of the most prestigious comic awards. And so if you kind of have that, it's almost like, Oscar nominee, Denzel Washington or whatever. So the jump 1 and 2 from Ringo Award winner Rylend Grant immediately gives the thing some cred, right? I get down to my subtitle and I try to hit on one of the other 2 things. Is that I've had 2 hit books. I've had 2 books, Aberrant and Banjax, that people know, that have been out there, that have won awards, that have made critics 10 best lists. So a kick you in the teeth paranoid thriller set in the world of astral projection from creator of Action Labs, Aberrant and Banjax. So I hit another one of my key points there, and I very succinctly sum up what the book is about, right? Kick you in the teeth paranoid thriller set in the world of astral projection. That grabs you right off the bat. It's high concept sci-fi. Again, it plugs right into what people want on Kickstarter. So again, it's not, they're not pounding the pledge button just yet, but they're going to read on, right? And then as you'll see, and I'll talk about this more, the third thing that I try to hit on a lot is the fact that I have this film career, that I have kind of a pedigree in film. And so if I can keep kind of hitting on those things, you want to think like, okay, if somebody sits down and looks at your page and then they have to walk out of the room and they run into one of their friends and they have to like explain the campaign to their friend in a minute, right? What are they going to say? What are the sound bites that they're going to take out for it? It's like, oh yeah, it's this pretty cool project. It's kind of this high concept sci-fi thing. It's a thriller that takes place in this world of astral projection, and it's from this guy. Like he's won a Ringo Award and he's had this big film career. Like I think he worked for Ridley Scott and just think about that. Think about what they're going to distill your project down to. If they're telling a friend about it, what comes out in that minute? And try to give them those things right off the bat, and try to give them to them as much as possible without kind of like making them want to kill you. And so project category is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, all I'll say is just make sure it's right, because there is this Kickstarter algorithm that becomes so important. And I'll talk more about this as we go along. And a lot of it has to do with how you're categorized. But the main question I think we got when we did our previous Kickstarter seminar was, okay, well how do I attract big backer numbers? Basically, it's like, we all have our 25 or 50 friends and family that will show up, but how do you get past that, right? And so if you have I mean, if you've had a comic book career and you have promoted other projects before and you have kept an email list, I mean, there are people who come on here with email lists with 15,000 people on them, and they're ahead of the game. So if you can build that email list, start right now if you haven't done it. And as you gain backers on Kickstarter, then they become part of that email list. They become part of that pool. But the beauty of Kickstarter, more than anything, the money is good. It's good to be able to sell your book, but Kickstarter is really a fan base builder more than anything. And it kind of takes care of that. And so what you need more than anything is you need your people, your friends, your family. If that's 25 people, if that's 50 people, if in my case it was about 100 people this time. You need your people to show up on day one and back the shit out of this thing, right? And and the rumor is, and I think it's truth, it is kind of proven out for me, is that the Kickstarter algorithm gets set in the first 24 to 48 hours. So if so, the better you do in the first 24 to 48 hours, the better your project will do over the course of its 30-day launch, right? Because again, if you kick ass during those first 2 days, you are telling Kickstarter that you are a project to be reckoned with, that you are a project that appeals to people, and so the internal algorithm, they will promote you internally as much as possible. And so if you've backed on Kickstarter before, you back one project, you immediately get a message that says, hey, thanks for backing. You may like this project and this project and this project. Well, if you want to know how you get on there, it's by doing well, right? And so those are the two things. I mean, first and foremost, make sure your project is categorized correctly, because if it's not categorized correctly, then maybe you're going to end up being shown to people who are trying to buy gadgets, and that's not going to help anybody. But more than anything, get your people there day one, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I think the project location is pretty self-explanatory. So the project image is something that has been that has been debated a little bit. Now, the people at Kickstarter are pretty adamant that you shouldn't. They really don't like when you use type. You can see I have the project title, I have the chapter title, I have something that is kind of like graphically challenging, and I like it. I think it looks great on the main page. I think it looks good enough. Their rationale is that sometimes people are looking at this very small, like on a phone or something like that. And so if there's too much text or something like that, it's just going to look, maybe a little garbled, or your image is not going to have the impact it needs. I made this up. I fell in love with it. I looked at it on everything, and even though the people at Kickstarter, were telling me that maybe it wasn't the ideal thing, I went with it, and I think I've done pretty well with it. So there's that. Project video is another important thing. You need to have a video. Let me say that right off the bat. Projects with videos do a ton better than projects without. So make one, and you know what? It doesn't have to be crazy. You do not have to be some like expert editor to do this. And so let me get my screen sharing up again, and then I will try to share the sound, and I will show you my video, and I'll just kind of show you what went into it.
Rylend, while you're doing that,
Yeah.
we had a great question from both Daniel and Nathan, and it's, how do you build an email list? And how do you do it, more importantly, from scratch?
Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get this
Can
audio
you
to share.
juggle at the same time?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I think you're going to be able to hear my thing now. Yeah, so building building an email list, you could almost do like an hour on building an email list. And there's actually there's a guy named Russell Noelty, who has a website called The Complete Creative, and Russell is kind of a guru of just kind of self-marketing. And so Russell Noelty has written any number of articles, or he has kind of master classes on just kind of building those things. The other thing that Russell does is Russell does these things that are called email list builders, where 20 creators will get together and they kind of pool money, and they create this prize package, and then people kind of sign up with their email for everyone's email list, and one person wins a prize at the end. And so you can end up with like 2,000 to 3,000 names just out of that. And some people swear by it. It hasn't worked great for me. For me, mostly it's been, I started out with, friends, family, people I knew in the comic book business and the movie industry, journalists who had been kind, Aberrant, and Banjax. And so I think in the beginning, I had an email list that was about, I don't know, 300 people, which isn't gonna, shoot the lights out. Again, some people are coming in with like thousands, and maybe I'll get there at some point. But it was enough. Again, like with your email list is hopefully people are going to show up day one, and and I think with the jump number one, I think I had 67 people show up day one, but I ended up with about $5,500, and that was an incredible start. This go round, it was about 100 people showed up day one, and I had maybe about $4,500 or something like that. And so, it builds over the course. I mean, it's something that you're going to realize is that if you're just kind of getting into these waters, like it's going to start out. It's going to start out slow and it's going to build over time. I watched my friend Charlie Stickney, who's kind of a Kickstarter legend. He did this book, White Ash, that you should really check out there. And I think he's done 6 White Ash related campaigns on Kickstarter. And when he started out, his first campaign was kind of similar to mine, where I think he had a little over 300 backers and maybe about $12,000. I think I had 330 backers and $15,000. But that was his first campaign. His second campaign, he ended up with somewhere 450 backers and $17,000, and on and on and on. And now he just did his 6th campaign. It's a White Ash spinoff called Galarian, which is actually still on. You should check that out if you are a Kickstarter backer. It's a great book. I can't recommend it enough. But he, last time I checked, he was at like 1,400 backers and $55,000 or something like that. So
that's amazing.
So you build every time. When you're coming in, you're doing your first campaign, you're hoping to build a good foundation, right? And what happens is, you're building a business, you're building a persona on Kickstarter, and so your email list builds out with that. So I came into Kickstarter with maybe about 300 names on the email list. I'm doing my 3rd campaign, and I think I'm at 850 now. And so every time you do one of these, you get a couple hundred more, maybe sometimes, the other thing that can happen on Kickstarter, and don't expect this, but you can have a campaign that just goes through the stratosphere. I see it happen. And particularly it's happening now because Kickstarter is crazy hot right now. But sometimes these things are like lottery tickets, man, and you just hit the Powerball. Like, my friend David Pepos, who is a great comic book writer, and we do a lot of cons together. He's one of my best friends in comics, but he did his first Kickstarter last year, after he saw kind of the success that I had with mine, and he was coming in hoping. I mean, he was scared. I did 330 backers and 15 grand, and he was really worried. He's like, man, I don't know if I'll make 7. I don't know, but he had this brilliant concept that was kind of this like updated, twisted take on the Wizard of Oz, and Kickstarter just loved it. And he blinked, and he had like his first campaign, 1,200 backers and like $64,000 or something like that. Just bonkers numbers. And that happens sometimes. You never know when it's going to happen. Don't expect it, but sometimes that happens. But again, think of this as like a long-term fight. Again, this is going to be a huge part of your publishing business. Now, comic shops are great. And there are all these people that only buy their comics in comic shops. But then there's this whole other kind of group of people that basically only buys their comics on Kickstarter. There is some overlap, but not nearly as much as you think there is. And so as a comic creator, what I've realized, which is a huge wake-up call, is that if you're not servicing both both groups of people, then you're doing yourself a disservice, you're doing your book a disservice. So what you're seeing a lot now is people start on Kickstarter. That's kind of what I'm doing with these. And then once they've kind of introduced everything on Kickstarter, and we'll talk about how you make the Kickstarter really special. You have all this exclusive stuff. Well, that doesn't preclude you from then walking it over. Charlie Stickney kickstarted 5 issues of White Ash, and then he walked it over to Scout Comics, and Scout Comics put it in the comic shop. And now he's having this amazing run at Scout Comics and regular comic shops. So that was a larger answer than you were looking for. But again, think about it as building a business. So building that email list is just kind of part of building this career online. And so start out with what you have. Don't freak out if it's not a lot. Just get the people together that will show up on day one. Get them to show up on day one. And if they show up on day one, then Kickstarter will bring more people to you. It's the beauty of the platform, and then you will build your email list out through Kickstarter. So let me. I think I just shared my audio with you, Eric. Let me know if
sounds good.
Okay, so I'm going to play this video. And important things before is you need a video. Again, keep your video under 3 minutes. You don't get everything across. Keep it under 3 minutes. You don't want a 10-minute long fit of nonsense here. Get in, let them. You'll see what I do. You get in, let them know who you are. let them know the basic gist of your book, give them a quick overview of what they're going to see down below on the campaign page, and then and then just get out of there. You're just kind of setting everything up on a golf tee. And again, you want people will watch this, and if they like it, they're going to scroll on down. So and what you're going to see is, I talked to you about boiling it down to these little sound bites, these things that are important. What is special about you? What is special about your book? Those 3 or 4 reasons why people need to be interested in that. You're going to see them come out right off the bat, one after another. Your video should read like that. Those 3 or 4 things become very important, because you're going to go on and you're going to do interviews, you're going to do podcasts, and you're going to be asked the same 5 questions by everyone, and those sound bites are going to come out over and over and over again. So if you can get them ironed out now, awesome. That whole sales thing is going to be easy for you. So let me play this.
Hello again, Kickstarter. My name is Rylend Grant. I have for about 15 years worked as a screenwriter in Hollywood. I've developed film and television projects with folks like J.J. Abrams, Ridley Scott, Luc Besson, John Woo, and Justin Lin. I swerved into the comic book lane a few years back. You might know my first book, Aberrant, which was published by Action Lab Danger Zone in 2019. It won a Ringo Award for Best Villain and was nominated for 2 others, including Best Writer and Best Single Issue. You may also know my last book, Banjax, which made over a dozen critics' 10 best lists last year. It was nominated for 4 Ringo Awards, including Best Series, but that stuff is old news. I am here today to talk to you about what's new and what is exciting, my latest and greatest, and that is The Jump. It is a kick-you-in-the-teeth paranoid thriller set in the world of astral projection. Issue 1 was brought to life right here on Kickstarter by you. And we are back today with a face-melting issue 2. It is badass, it is bonkers, you're gonna love it. Take a look. After a series of crippling personal tragedies, our protagonist Thomas retreats from his everyday life and finds comfort in an online community dedicated to the art of astral projection. When he demonstrates a unique aptitude for the practice, Thomas becomes the target of a mysterious corporate political machine known as Ajax, bent on using promising young practitioners to win a centuries-old war on the astral plane. Now, The Jump is a smart, grounded, high-concept sci-fi thriller full of meaty twists and turns. It is Inception meets The Bourne Identity if it were dripping with macabre, and directed by David Fincher. Now tell me that doesn't sound amazing. The art is done. The book is completely ready to go. We just need the funds now to print it up and get it to you. Any additional cash will be put towards art for issues 3 and 4 and beyond. This is going to be an ongoing series. You're going to love it for years to come. We have great rewards for potential backers, 3 amazing variant covers, original art, the chance to actually appear in the book or on a cover, the chance to come on the film and TV property as a producer, and there is tons of great stuff for all you process junkies. So take a look below, pick a tier you like, and please, please, please come make the jump with us, huh?
All right, how do I minimize
Boom.
this? Boom. Yeah. So again, it's not, I'm not lighting the world on fire with that thing. It is a simply produced video, but it gets the point across, right? You get to see some of the art, the music has some energy in it. There's some movement to it. And I follow the same template. If you go to my 3, projects, you'll kind of see the same, you'll see the same just kind of outline to all these things. I start out with a montage that's kind of actiony, and the music gets you pumped up, and then it comes and again, I hit my things from the Ringo Award-winning creator of Aberrant, and the Ringo nominated team that brought you the Jump. Get ready to make the jump, and then it comes to me. I introduce myself. Hi, I'm Rylend Grant. These are the books I've done. This is why I'm interesting. but that's old news. I'm here today to talk to you about the jump. And then we go into another, another video block where I just kind of give the pitch for it. And then I come back. Here's another reason that you like it. Here are our rewards, and then I get out. I follow that same outline every time, and it works, and it's fine. And again, it took me a little while to figure that out, but now I can do one of these videos in about 10 minutes. And so I think that that's great for you. Let me see. Okay, so back to this. Back to behind the scenes, the funding goal is kind of an important thing, and there are two things I think that go into that in choosing your funding goal. The first and most important question to answer is, how much do you need to break even? For some, that is the most important question, right? I mean, if you just spent $5,000 on the comic book, you would like to get $5,000 back, and so some people just say, okay, we'll ask for $5,000, and there's a logic to that. That is not always as simple. There's a little salesmanship that goes into all this. I have made $15,000 twice on Kickstarter. I expect to make $15,000 to $20,000 this go round, but I set my goal at $7,000, and there is a rationale to that. I think I can meet my goal in 48 hours, right? And that does a couple of things for you. I mean, being able to go to social media and say, the jump funded in 48 hours. There's a little excitement to that. It's like, people were so excited about this that, they showed up right off the bat. They got this thing funded in 48 hours, and now it's on to stretch goals, right? There's momentum to that. I think that, and I don't have hard data to back this up, but the rumor is, and I believe that that making your goal early fires up the Kickstarter algorithm. Again, they want to promote successful projects, and so you make your project a success right off the bat. I mean, the thing you risk is that if you've made your goal, then there's this thing, like if you're $100 away from your goal, like everybody wants to be the person that makes the last donation that puts you over the top. They're rooting for you. There's like a victory in that, right? But if you set it too low and you've already kind of made your goal, then maybe some people who would have shown up for you don't show up. So it's a tug of war. There's no right answer to it. Just take those things into account. Launch dates. You want to run a 30-day campaign thereabouts. Sometimes it can be a day or two longer or shorter, and I'll talk about that in a second. But basically you're going to make money every day. Sometimes it's $5, sometimes it's $4,500. You're going to make money every day, so you want to run the full 30 days. However, if you push too far over 30 days, then you start to look a little thirsty. You start to look like maybe you don't think you're going to make your goal. Also, there is a promotional fatigue, right? It's something that I run into is that I'm promoting this thing, and it starts early because you set up a pre-launch page before you do any of this, right? You build your campaign, you submit it to Kickstarter. Once Kickstarter okays it, and the okay process is not crazy. Basically, they're looking at your project to make sure that you're not doing anything illegal or nasty or ugly or anything, and then they sign off on it, right? Once your campaign has been approved, you can then make a pre-launch page, which is a link to your page that you can send out to people and say, hey, I am launching on this date. Come to this page, and they can click to sign up for notifications. And you want to get as many people in that hopper as possible. When they click to sign up for notifications, then the moment you go live, Kickstarter will notify them that the project is live. And so the moment it goes live, they get an email from Kickstarter with a link that they can just click on and very easily donate to your campaign. So you want as many people signed up pre-campaign as possible. You don't want to start too early though because of this fatigue. So what I preach is make sure that your campaign is submitted early enough. You want your launch notification page to go live 2 weeks before your campaign is going to launch. and you want to spend those 2 weeks getting people in the hopper, letting everyone know that it's going to happen. It's going to happen on this date, driving people to this, getting them to sign up for the notifications, because that is going to help people sign up on day one. So in terms of this fatigue, you are promoting the pre-launch page for 2 weeks, and then the campaign launches, and you are promoting the campaign for 30 days. And so people get tired of hearing about this with that time frame. If you go 35 days or 40 days, your friends, your family that are going to want to kill you. You're going to have people following you on Twitter. Don't go overboard on that. Picking your launch date is very important. There are times that are good. There are times that are bad. You want to launch on a Monday or a Tuesday. Most people will say launch on Tuesday. It is the prime time, and I don't disagree that Tuesday is the prime time. Tuesday is the highest traffic day, and there is a logic to that. What I will say, and what people like Charlie Stickney, the Kickstarter guru, will say, is that Monday is the second best day of the entire week for Kickstarter. So, in my opinion, to launch on a Tuesday means that you are just cutting that Monday out. Why not launch and have your first 48 hours be the best 2 days, right? And so generally I always launch on Monday. I launch this on Monday. So launch on a Monday or a Tuesday, and you want to end on a Thursday. Thursday, people will show up to close out your campaign. People are used to campaigns ending on a Thursday. You don't want to end on a Friday because it's the end of the week. People are looking forward to the weekend. They may just forget about it. They may miss it. You get a huge push in the first 2 days of your campaign, and you get a huge push in the last 2 days of your campaign. And so you want to maximize those, right? There's a huge lull in the middle that can be devastating. Like day 15. You may get one pledge, you may get 0 pledges. We can talk a little bit about that later, what to do during the lull, because it can be awful. But what happens in the last 2 days, the entire time that your campaign is going, people are watching it. And so people may show up to your page and they may click to watch the campaign, but they may not pledge yet. A lot of people wait till the end to pledge or to figure out if they're going to pledge. And so what you'll see, and let me see if I might be able to take you behind the scenes. Let me show you where we're at right now. Let me go to the dashboard. And so you'll see a watcher count the entire time. This this tool is really interesting, where it shows you what percentage you're funded. This is a really interesting tool where it actually shows you where your backers are coming from. So I got 19 backers and made $1,600 from emails that Kickstarter sent out. And it gets really, people that found me on the Kickstarter comics page, one person, $50. And so it breaks down like that. And this can be a very powerful tool for you, because what you can do is you can create custom referral tags. So I can create a specific link. Let's say that a pop culture comic book website is going to run a feature on The Jump. I can create a custom link and give that to them and say, hey, put this link in your story. And then they run the story with that link. And then Kickstarter will tell me specifically how many people clicked on that link and how much they pledged and all of that stuff. And so there's a lot of amazing data that can come from that, where you can see exactly what's working and what isn't. So if you're going to run a Facebook ad, you create a specific link for this is my Facebook ad link, and then you can see, oh, my Facebook ad brought in $400 this week. That Facebook ad is worth running. Or, you know what, I spent all that money on the Facebook ad and it didn't bring anything in, so I need to stop with the Facebook ads. And so you should use this tool. If you have specific questions about the tool, we can talk more about it. But don't. The custom referral tag is a very powerful tool. But this is where I was trying to take you. So project followers. So so there's this. I think I showed you that. Let me go back to the page here. View project. So right now I have 119 backers. And so this is telling me that I also have 207 project followers, and that 64 of them have already pledged. And so, I have 104, what is it, 143 people now that are watching the project that have not pledged yet, and they're going to be waiting, basically until the end probably, to decide if they're going to pledge or not. And so what happens is 48 hours from the time your project is scheduled to end, Kickstarter sends out an email to all these project followers saying, hey, you have 2 days to pledge, get on this. And then they send a second email out with 8 hours left. And so because of that, you get this huge surge during those final 2 days. And that becomes very important. You can usually expect a conversion rate of about 30%. Don't expect much more than that. So if my campaign were going to end today, I probably couldn't count on too many more project followers. But what's going to happen is over the course of the 30 days, this number is going to grow. This number is going to double. I'm going to have, I'll have 400 plus 500 project followers by the end of this thing, and during those final 2 days, a bunch of them will convert. And in the end, I'll end up with probably a 30% conversion rate. So let me get back to where we were on this project build. So I think that we have covered the general base of this. Let me figure out where we're going to go next quick. Okay, so you get down to basics. We'll cover rewards second. So the story is the next kind of important part. So let me view the project, and I'll tell you where the story is. Now, the story is kind of the body of your thing, and so we had questions on on what the build looks like. And let me click on the story and just show you what Kickstarter gives you if you guys haven't done this before. I know some of you have, and so I'm sorry for that. But basically, it's just like, it's almost like you're making a blog post, right? So there's just this text box, almost like I'm writing an email or making a blog post. And you have all these fancy tools. You can bold stuff. You can add links. You can add images. You can make stuff stand out. And so you just kind of build a long blog post, just kind of pitching your story, right? And I'll take you through this kind of bit by bit. And so, with your story, you want to start right off the bat. And, more than anything, you want this just to be succinct. You want to get right to the point. And again, you want those 4 things to kind of come out. There are these, again, there are sound bites, right? And there are the sound bites about you. I mean, by now you kind of know my sound bites. This is a kick you in the teeth paranoid thriller set in the world of astral projection. There's the pitch. After a series of crippling personal tragedies, Thomas Northrop retreats from his everyday life and finds comfort in an online community dedicated to the art of astral projection. When he demonstrates a unique aptitude for the practice, Thomas becomes the target of a mysterious corporate political machine known as Ajax, bent on using promising young practitioners to win a centuries-old war on the astral plane. And then there's The Jump is a smart, high-concept sci-fi thriller full of meaty twists and turns. Its inception meets the Bourne Identity if it were dripping with macabre and directed by David Fincher. And then there's the one by me. I'm a screenwriter about me. I'm a screenwriter by trade. For decades, for over a decade, I've made my living writing smart psychological thrillers for directors like J.J. Abrams, Ridley Scott, Justin Lin, John Woo. When I introduced myself today, those came out. When you saw the video, those came out. And so those need to come out again here. And I'm also going to lead with the successes of my other books. The Jump's a comic book series from me and my team. And then it says, the same twisted team that brought you Action Lab Danger Zone's critically lauded superhero noir Banjax. Banjax is nominated for 4 Ringo Awards in 2020, including Best Series alongside Bitterroot, Something's Killing the Children. And so that's the first block, right? And you're interested, you want to see what comes next. It's like, oh, wow, this same team, the writer, the artist, they made this book that was nominated next to all these great books. Well, this one's probably good, right? Let me scroll down. And so everything needs to be about them. Just kind of keep scrolling. We get our pitch out after a series of crippling personal tragedies. And so when I was talking about how I kind of modify the format a little bit, you can see these. I don't know if they're fancy or they're not, but this little pitch thing, these headings that I made, are not issue. What is astral projection? you can't create those in you know, in the Kickstarter format. Those are graphics that I built, and I've gone a little overboard with them on previous campaigns where I took actual images from the campaign and I made titles out of those. So it was art, and you can do that, but it takes a lot of time. I think something that just has a little bit of punch. Again, you don't want to you don't want to inundate people with images and just have this look like a jumble. So I think this is a nice. It looks a little fancier than they're used to. It's a little punch in the face. It definitely kind of like breaks stuff up nicely. Um, but you know, if you guys have specific questions on the text here, we can talk about it. But you can see my thing comes out again. The other thing I did, I have the benefit now of you know, one issue went out, and so that one issue has been reviewed, right? And I have a couple of kind of pull quotes from reviews. You know, out of this world, Grant delivers another cinematic thrill ride. The Jump is a beautiful medley of fascination and wonder, filled with engaging characters, sprinkled with humor and heart, a healthy dose of intrigue, all wrapped up in a compelling premise. You know, and so what you're doing is, you know, there's this thing that happens in gymnastics, where, you know, a lot of your gymnastics scores, you know, it has to do with you accumulating points along the way for like performing certain skills, right? Okay, well, you added this into your thing, so that's an extra point. You added this into your thing, so that's an extra point. You want to think about kind of accumulating points as you go down this thing. It needs to be succinct, but you know, you want to give them another reason every time to keep scrolling down the page. So again, oh yeah, this is the team that brought you that book that won Ringo Awards. Oh wow, here's a, you know, here's a good reviewer that loved the book and has great things to say about the book, and here's another one. And so you know, the more you can kind of just load up front with stuff like this. The Jump is a massive good time. The pacing is phenomenal. The line work is superb. All that stuff. It just you know, you're giving people another reason and another reason and another reason to kind of subscribe to this thing. And you know, again, these people like the book, and it is a good book. So I think that's a good thing. You know, have at least one of your covers up front. We'll talk about how I kind of approach covers in a second, but you know, people want to know what they're getting right off the bat. And so here's the book. I think the cover looks beautiful. Put that up front. I don't usually do stuff like this, but astral projection is kind of an odd duck thing. You know, not everybody understands what astral projection is. So I think, you know, when I'm getting into somebody's head who's coming to this, like I can say astral projection and they kind of know what it is, but by now they're kind of like, well, wait a minute, what is astral projection? And then I could just kind of hit them with like a very succinct discussion of what is astral projection, what is the astral plane. I give them the info they need to know, and then I get out of there. You know, and then I get back to the story. I get back to my sound bites. I'm a screenwriter by trade. You know, for over a decade, I made my living writing movies for J.J. Abrams and blah 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 blah. The Jump is a smart, high concept sci-fi thriller full of meaty twists and turns. You see that comes out again, right? And then you get back to the book. I think a very meaty preview is key. I might have gone a little overboard here with my preview. It's about 10 pages. You can read it when you're offline. You don't have to do 10 pages, but you know, I think these are 10 good pages, and you know, it shows that it's a good book, that it's well made. I think it hooks people, and so that's what I decided to go with. You don't need that many. I think you need at least 5 pages in a cover, 6 pages in a cover. You know, and that gets down to some production questions. I mean, a lot of people will ask, like, what do you need to start to launch one of these things? And personally, I don't launch one of these campaigns until I have the entire book done. There's just so much that can go wrong. There's so much crazy that happens, and I've seen so many of these things. I've seen a number of these things get funded, and then the artist drops out, or you know, there's a financial situation. I've heard stories of people running off with the money and buying a house or something like that. I personally think you're crazy if you try to launch one of these things without actually having the product done. It is nice to just have it done. You get the payout from Kickstarter. You go right to the you go right to the printer. The printer sends it to you, and you send these things out, and you move on to the next one. Like that is a way to guarantee that everybody gets what they paid for, that everybody ends up happy, that there are no ugly situations. But I understand that Not everyone can do that. It can cost $3,000 to $5,000 to make a single issue of a comic book, right? And so maybe you don't have that. Maybe you need the Kickstarter to kind of make the money to do one of these things, and that's okay, as long as you are upfront with your backers. You know what I'm saying? You saw in my video, I told everybody the art is done. All we need now is the money to print it up and get it to you, and that's a guarantee. People look for a sure thing on Kickstarter, and so, you know, they know they're dealing with a creator who's delivered before with me. I've done 2 successful ones already. I've delivered books to comic shops, the whole 9 yards. So there's very little risk. If you're just starting out, maybe there's a risk with you and people are worried about backing you. They won't be if you're upfront with them. If you're like, you know, the art is in progress, we're going to deliver on this date, you know, and as long as you keep it, as long as you keep things on track, as long as you keep things updated, even delays are fine. I've seen delays are fine. As long as you keep everyone in the mix. Like, you know, if you say, okay, I'm going to deliver in April, and April comes and something's happened, your artist gets sick, whatever, as long as you go to your backers and you're like, hey guys, you know, very sorry, we wanted to deliver in April, but the artist got sick. He's adjusting some things right now. We think that we're going to be able to deliver to you at the end of May. So the new date is May. We will keep you up to date. As long as you keep them up to date, you can keep going. And you know what? I've seen projects. You know, my friend David Avalone, who works with Kevin Eastman on Drawing Blood, you know, they've launched 2 massive Kickstarters. You know, they've raised over $100,000 each time, and each time they've taken over a year to deliver the book. And there are a number of reasons for that. One, the art is in progress, and they need the money, like some of you guys, to complete the art, and that's totally fine. Somebody has their mic on, and I was hearing something. Okay. And you know, and the other thing is that they're not delivering a single issue. They're delivering a 4 or 5 issue trade or something like that, and that takes longer. So each time they've taken a year to deliver their books, but they said that right off the bat. Hey, it's going to take us a year to deliver. We'll keep you up to date, the whole 9 yards. We'll show you art as it's in progress. We'll keep you in the loop, and that's totally fine. So, however, the minimum you need, I think, is 5 or 6 finished pages. You need to show these guys what they're getting. Show them the story. Show them that the lettering is good, that the coloring is good, that it's worthwhile. So if you're going to launch this, find your artist, find your colorist, get 5 pages done, and then do it. Okay, you don't need to do your. Yeah, go ahead.
So just a couple questions just to touch on that. So
Yeah, sure.
Hanan wanted to know, are you paying all the upfront costs to the artists and all of your team, or are they sharing revenue on the back end?
Well, you know, that's a great question, and it's different every time. So the easiest thing for me is to just pay the artists, and then not worry about it, right? They have a rate. They're happy to get that rate. You know, I mean, for me, there's a lot to lose, right? Because my business for the last, I don't know, 8 to 10 years has been creating IP and setting it up in Hollywood. So, you know, like right now, The Jump is actually, you know, like WME, William Morris Endeavor, just took on the property. They're repping the property in Hollywood, and they're taking it out to stars and directors, and they're trying to get this set up as a TV show. Well, you know, that's great for me if I own the entire property. If somebody owns half of it, or this person owns a piece of it, then that gets a lot more complicated, right? So the easiest thing to do is just to kind of pay your artists. The other thing is that there's a motivational aspect. If an artist knows that he or she is getting their page rate right off the bat, they turn in a page, they get paid, they're going to prioritize your project. They're going to be very motivated. If they're working for a deferred rate, a lot of times the book takes twice as long, 10 times as long. A lot of times they flake out, right? I've had really bad experiences with artists working for a share. It almost never works out for me. So if you have an artist you trust, that you know will deliver, and you can strike that arrangement, and you don't have the money to pay up front, then that's great. But man, it's testy. So I think the best thing to do is just agree on a page rate and just pay it. The other thing that can happen, right, is just that they, you know, I have used this model where there's a deferred page rate based on the Kickstarter. So we write a book, you know, we make the book, we take it to Kickstarter. As soon as Kickstarter pays us, they get their rate immediately, right? So there are any number of ways to do it. The right way to do it is the way that works for your situation, for your artist. but again, I've had so many people flake. I have had a half dozen books that didn't get done, or that Banjack was delayed for a year and a half because I had an artist start it and not finish it, and then I had to go find Fabio. With Aberrant, one artist drew the first issue, and then he had to go do other things, and so I had to bring another artist on, and that was a problem for some publishers. And I've had three or four other books where that's happened. So the best thing to do, I know we're not made of money, but just figure out a way to pay the rate.
So Michael,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, so sorry. I just said, so Michael just wanted to clarify. So the artists that you work with are not really involved with the Kickstarter campaign in that case.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's there's a blessing and a curse to working with artists who are overseas, and for whom English is maybe not their first language. A lot of my artists wouldn't be comfortable out there promoting the book, right? But you end up being a one-man band a lot of the time when you're promoting this stuff. And I think it's mostly the case even with American artists, because they're on to the next project. I mean, their livelihood depends on just keeping the pencil moving, right? And so doing a lot of promo is problematic for some of them. But yeah, my colorist in Indonesia is not at all involved with the Kickstarter. My artists, on this, it's an entirely it's a Brazilian team, and they're not involved. They speak Portuguese, and I thought maybe I would get some. I thought maybe I'd get some backers from Brazil, but that hasn't been the case. And a big part of it is because the book's in English, right? Most of the people they know are not going to read an English book. You get a few, but not as many. And so if you could, David Avalone, has this great artist, Ben Bishop, who ran the entire Kickstarter. They, Kevin Eastman and David Avalone, they didn't have to do much. Ben made his bones on Kickstarter. He became a big time artist on Kickstarter. And so if you can find an artist who's going to participate, let alone take the whole thing over and improve your campaign, do that, because it's awesome. But it is by far the exception and not the rule.
And just one last quick clarifying point. Yep. James just wanted to know, with the possibility of artists flaking, then is it best to pay after the pages are completed?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's that's tough to go. You have to. It's going to be different every time. It's going to be based on how much you trust this person, how much you know this person. Right off the bat, you're not going to know anything. I mean, what I will say is, with Davi Leon Diaz, who did The Peacekeepers, this is the third or fourth book we've done together. With Fabio Elvez, who did Banjax and who did The Jump, we've done 2 or 3 books together also. And so I trust those guys, and so sometimes Fabio will say, hey, my car broke down. Can I get an advance on the next 5 pages? And I have no problem doing that for Fabio, because I know he's going to deliver, and I know he's awesome, and so there's that. But yeah, with a new artist, I mean, and I've had artists do 11 pages and then walk away from the project, and that hurts. And so thankfully I haven't, it wasn't a situation where I paid them already, and so you do have to worry about that. You do have to hope that you don't get burned. I think that hopefully you're dealing with somebody who has some sort of reputation, who you can get some sort of recommendation on. And usually what I do is I pay in 6-page increments. They'll we work on 6 pages at a time. I see layouts first. I kind of approve the layouts. I give notes on the layouts. Sometimes they have to do an update on the layout. Then they move to pencil. I critique the pencils. I give a round of notes. They go back. They do the inks. I give a round of notes. Once we have the final inks, then I send them a payment for 6 pages, and we move on to the next 6 pages. That's usually how I work. If you're worried about somebody, you can wait until the end to pay them. They may not go for that. They may not be motivated to do that. They may not be able to pay their bills if they do that. It takes them a full month working full time to draw a book, right? And so they may not be able to do that. What I will say is that if you pay with a credit card, your credit card has certain protections. If somebody rips you off, you can go to your credit card company and file a claim, and your credit card company will give you your money back. If you pay via PayPal, There are things built in, like if they don't, you write very carefully what you're paying for in your PayPal description, and if they flake on you, then you file a PayPal claim. PayPal gives you your money back, and they take the money out of their account. And even better, pay with your credit card via PayPal, because then you have two protections: your credit card company and your PayPal. And just make sure you're very careful about the language you're building in. Sign a clear contract with your artists, laying out, hey, you're doing this, you're going to deliver in this amount of time, you're getting paid this amount per page. All of this helps, right? So just be careful. And if you have more questions or follow-up questions, fire away, and I'm happy to answer that. What I will say is that for some of you who if you could get the best American artist and pay their massive, well-deserved page rate, that would be awesome. If you're rich, do that, and you will never regret it. But most of us can't do that, right? And so what I will say is that up and comers, again, if you go on these Facebook groups and you find an up and comer, somebody who is going to be drawing for Marvel in 2 or 3 years, but the world doesn't know that yet, that's the ideal person. That's who I think I found in Fabio, who did the jump. That's your ideal person there, I think. When you're kind of just starting out like this. And what I will say is that this may be a weird way to put it, but foreign artists, they're usually half the price and have half the attitude. I know it sounds terrible, but I think there's some truth in that. Again, like my colorist in Indonesia, he had a hard time finding work in Indonesia, right? Doing normal things. And when he did find work, he wasn't getting paid a lot. Well, he can get paid a great rate doing color, and he's a brilliant colorist. And so his entire business is basically he does colors for American comic books, and he's able to support like a 10-person family on that. And he's happy for the work, he's happy for the money, he's enthusiastic, he's not giving you attitude. And so that is my ideal collaborator. And so I would say, when you're trying to figure out a collaborator, look for someone like that. So now we're getting into another area where there were a lot of questions last time, like what do I offer in a Kickstarter campaign? What are the what are the perks, the rewards, all of these things. And so I think the main thesis of this that you'll see is you need to offer an exceptional experience, right? You got to remember that these people can go to a comic shop and pick one of these up for like $4 or $5, right? This is just a regular comic shop floppy, right? And it's kind of flimsy and it's it's okay quality, but you want to make sure when people are coming to Kickstarter, they're buying a book for $12, for $18. Those are standard prices, and so you want to make sure that you are giving them a premium experience, the best experience imaginable. And you want to make sure that they're getting things here that they can't get somewhere else, that they can't get in a comic shop or even at a con. And that is really where the opportunity of Kickstarter is. We talk about it as a fan base builder more than anything. I mean, that has been my biggest revelation in dealing with Kickstarter, is that the money is fine, but really, like, the main thing you get out of this is it is a fan base builder, and you will get the most rabid, dedicated fans imaginable here. I put out books in comic shops for years, and it was fine. You don't hear a lot back. Like you get some tweets or something like that. Sometimes I'll run into somebody at a comic shop who's very enthusiastic, and that's all great. But here it is immediate, and it is ever present. If you do something wrong, you're going to hear about it immediately. If you do something great, they're going to throw a party for you. It's awesome. And so all I will say is just do right by them and listen to them. I mean, the smartest thing I ever did when building my campaigns is throw the doors open. Just be like, hey guys, this is about building this book, building this experience with you. And so if there's something that we're not doing, if there's something that you want to see, let me know, and we'll make it happen. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. But so the first thing I do is I make sure that the printing is top notch. My book, you can see, this. So you see how this is, and then you see how this is. Like, this is we print on an 80-pound paper stock with a 100-pound gloss cover, and so it's top quality. I mean, it's like, this thing is almost bulletproof. You can see the gloss on it, It's a beautiful book. This is very much a Cadillac. This is almost like a, this compared to the regular floppy that you get, it's not even close. And so what I will say is go all out. Do not skimp at all on printing. I did the same thing with the Peacekeepers, where with the Peacekeepers, I was offering 2 issues for the price of 1, which is another premium way to do it. But I did this in perfect bound format. So you can see there's a spine on it. So it's like this book was almost like a trade paperback that you'd order. Again, top notch in every way. And when I was looking for the printer that you choose is very important. And so I deal with Comic Impressions in Florida. They're an amazing shop. They are mom and pop in a way where you get that personal service, but they are pros 100%. They print all of Scout Comics books, and so you're getting the best. And so do not skimp on the printing. I think and then the second thing is you want to make everything you get as exclusive as possible. So so all of my covers are exclusive to Kickstarter. Now, the Jump will probably at some point have another life in the comic shops. That's a few years down the road, but it's going to be very different when it hits comic shops. They'll, it'll be organized differently. The pages will be different. There might be different content, but anything you get here on Kickstarter, you're never going to be able to get. I mean, we're in the age of like hyper collecting, right? Where the rarer the better. And so I am offering covers here on Kickstarter that they'll never be able to get anywhere else. Like this, there's this one printing of them, and then they become the ultimate collectible. I mean, if the Jump goes on and the Jump gets set up, it becomes a TV series, and my friends do Kanto and for Dark Horse, and Kanto is becoming a movie, and suddenly the collector's market just shot up like crazy, right? And so everywhere Kanto thing is so in demand right now. Well, the people who back this campaign are going to have the ultimate Jump collectible when the Jump becomes a movie or a TV series. They're going to have these things where, I mean, some of these variants, there are like 50 copies or something like that. And so make it as exclusive as possible. Make sure they're getting the premium experience. And so the first thing I do is one cover is not enough. You want to do 2 covers, 3 covers, 4 covers. And there are a number of reasons for this. The first thing is just choice, right? Some people may not. I mean, I think our regular cover, this is kind of an homage to the Take on Me video, but in the astral projection sense. And a lot of people love this, and they're knocked on their ass by it, and they want that. But so it might not be their cup of tea, and so we do 3 other covers. So people have a choice, a variety. The other thing we do is God, there are a number of reasons for this. So the first thing is that with variant covers, you can have fun with them, right? If you know my books, let me see if I have some of them. I am known for crazy variant covers with my my store-bought books. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab a couple of things off the shelf. Sorry for moving on you here. But for people who loved Aberrant and Banjax, they became huge fans of mine. So for Banjax, we did this Rocky IV homage variant cover for Baltimore Comic Con for the Ringo Awards that people went crazy for. We did a Gremlins variant cover where we have our main character drinking in Dory's Tavern, the bar from Gremlins, and we have Gremlins all around. I know you're probably not seeing these very well right now. For Aberrant, we did a Weekend at Bernie's cover that people went crazy for, and I know the pull of these things. Like people love the pop culture references. They go crazy for them. And so we made sure with our Kickstarter campaigns that we did covers like that would appeal to people. But also, again, you can only get these covers on this Kickstarter campaign. So they won't be offered again. You won't be able to get them in a store or anything. And so these become these kind of uber limited things. And we tapped into things that people really love. Like we asked people, okay, what are your favorite movies? What are your favorite references? And so we have our Back to the Future homage cover. We have our Mandalorian Boba Fett homage cover. We have this one's kind of for me, our Magnum PI variant cover. I'm a huge Magnum PI fan. You can see Thomas Magnum behind me. But so these things grab people immediately. I mean, I have seen the impact of these covers firsthand when I'm at a con and I'm tabling. you know, when you're at a con, the first thing people are going to do is they want to walk past your table as quickly as possible, right? You need something to get them to stop. And so if they're walking by and they see the Rocky 4 variant, they're going to be like, wait a minute, is that Rocky 4? Wait a minute, is that Weekend at Bernie's? And so again, it gets people to buy in. And so, you know, they can kind of get excited about these covers. And so there's that. So the other plus of offering, you know, kind of multiple variant covers is that it may mean people buy more than one, right? You know, people they may not be able to leave the campaign without getting both the Back to the Future cover and the Mando cover. Again, if you're a comic collector, these are rare variants, so they want to gobble them up. There's so many people that come in and buy all 4 covers, right? And so suddenly, you know, and again, you know, this is something that's collectible. It's something that is of value. It's not just more. It's something that is interesting. It's adding value to your campaign and to your and so, you know, that becomes a big deal. And so suddenly, when maybe somebody would have stopped by and you would have got you know, an $18 pledge, maybe now you get a $60 pledge because of that, because you're offering more things, and they don't have to buy all these things, but if there's variety, people, you know, people might buy more. And so I think that, and you'll see this, you know, a lot of people will ask, okay, well, how do I, you know, how do I get 15? You know, I ran my Kickstarter and I ended up with $5,000. How do I get to 15? Well, building out the things that you're offering is going to be a big deal for that. So again, I think, yeah, go ahead.
So we have a couple questions about those things in particular. So the first are specifically around the rules about the variant covers. Is there any kind of IP issue, any permission, any worry about copyright?
So I have so when I started doing the homage covers, I was with Action Lab, and so I had a publisher behind me, and I consulted very heavily with Action Lab Legal, and then I also had the benefit of my my partner on Aberrant is a lawyer who also looked at the legalities, and so everyone determined that we were very well covered under parody law, and kind of under you know, so again, like these you know, a lot of these covers, you know, were actually in comic shops. You know, our Billy D. Williams cover, you know, it's a parody of the Colt 45 ad, and so so the quick answer is you're good. I mean, you know, a lot of people who are into comics, they're also into you know, the posters that Mondo releases, and you know, these galleries like Gallery 1988 that do a lot of these kind of movie homage posters, and you're doing a very similar thing there. Now, every once in a while, Mondo will like have a partnership with Marvel where they sign a contract and blah 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 blah. But usually, when Mondo or Gallery 1988 they do their like movies from the year 1990 show, they're not going in and negotiating deals with Universal to do movie posters. It's you know, it's a, you know, it is a parody. It is a homage, and you're covered, and you are, and you're okay in that sense. And it's a little more complicated than that, but you're on pretty solid ground. So what was the other question?
Oh, I'm sure you're heading to it, but just to make sure, I think in addition to the covers and the variants, people were wondering like what other kinds of items, in addition to the comic and the comic related pieces, might you offer that have been you know, successful?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you asked, because that's where I'm headed. So you know, so I'll just take you on down the line and take you through it, right? And again, the idea is to offer a premium experience, and to tap in the fact that Kickstarter is this amazing interactive machine. And so, you know, you want to give them things that they would not be able to get anywhere else and in any other circumstances. And so you're going to see how I do that. And so the first thing when you're running a campaign for the Jump 2 is that there are going to be hundreds of people that come that haven't read Jump 1. And, you know, probably a lot of you guys haven't read Jump 1, and you're wondering like, well, why would I buy Jump 2? And so you need to make it clear that there is every opportunity to catch up here. Did you miss out on the Jump 1? Well, we still have copies of the Jump 1. Those limited variants, we still have some of them left. And so if you want our Ghostbusters variant of issue 1, our Ice Cube Today Was a Good Day variant, our Risque variant, those are available. And so give them the opportunity to catch up. Early bird tiers are very important. So again, you want to entice as many people to donate, to pledge during the first 48 hours as possible, because you want to tweak that Kickstarter algorithm. You want to fire it up. And so I always offer a slight discount. So when normally it would cost you maybe $20 for one of these premium issues, you get it for 18 during the first 48 hours. They save a few bucks on some key tiers. That's very important, and we can go through the pricing in a little bit. And so when you're building one of these things, I think that it's I am this is the Kickstarter campaign for The Jump, right? But I've done tons of other great books, and so I'm going to have a couple of hundred people at least show up, if not, it could be 1,000 people show up and look at this thing. And it's an opportunity. It's almost like they're stepping into your store. And so if they're going to step into your store, you don't want to put just one thing in front of them. And so I use every Kickstarter campaign as an opportunity to show them everything that I've done. And so the first thing I do is that every backer immediately gets issue 1 of Aberrant and issue 1 of Banjax, right? They get a preview of the Peacekeepers one. And so right off the bat, essentially, they're not getting, you want to create value for people. So right off the bat, they're not pledging for one book. They are getting 4 books right off the bat. They're getting they're getting The Jump, they're getting Banjax #1, they're getting Aberrant #1, and they're getting, Peacekeepers #1, essentially. So right off the bat, 4 issues for 1 pledge. That's value. And then there's the added bonus of, maybe they read Banjax and they love it. They're like, oh my God, like, how have I lived without this? And then, they want to go out and they want to buy, they want to buy all of Banjax. They want to buy all of Aberrant. It's a promotional opportunity for you. So this is a good investment. So I think that's my first thing, is like, give them value right off the bat, introduce them to the other stuff that you're doing. I think that's very important. Now, other issues end up being a big thing. The first thing I do, my first stretch goal, and we can talk a little bit more about stretch goals later if you want to. My first stretch goal is I give everybody a dozen plus issues from other creators I know. I got a lot of creators in the comic business. They want to get their books in front of everyone. And so I gather up a dozen of the best books that I can find, and I give them to everybody. So it's not 4 issues that they're getting right off the bat. They're getting 16 issues. They're getting 20 issues for 1 pledge. So build value, build value, build value. Then you go on through. And so there's an opportunity here. A lot of people have questions about process. We've already had some of those. Hey, Riley, how are you finding your artists? How are you paying your artists? How are you communicating with your artists? Well, questions I always get too is like, okay, well, what does a script look like? What information do you give to your artist? What do you show to a publisher when you're trying to pitch a book that's going to end up with a big time publisher? What does the art process look like, right? What does a layout look like? What does an ink look like? What does a colored file look like? And so what I do is that every backer gets a peek behind the curtain, right? They get to see how the book is. Again, they're helping you bring this book to life. The book would not come to life without their support. And so I give them a peek at everything. And so every backer gets my script for the issue in question. They get the publisher pitch document for the series, so they see how I am boiling the issue down and taking it to a publisher. And they are seeing how the art was built from start to finish. They get to read the script and then see the layout that came, and then see the ink that came from that, and then see the color. And then of course they get to compare it to the final lettered version. And so that can be the ultimate comics masterclass. This is how, if you're out there and you don't know how to build a comic book, this will show you how. This is how I learned. And so I sort of think it's my duty to pay it forward. And so again, like, you could go into a comic shop and buy a book, but you would never get any of this, right? You would never get to see how it was built from start to finish. And so you're adding more and more value. This ends up becoming a premium experience. So I think that, and again, if you want people invested in how things get made, this is a great thing. So my entire digital library is always available, right? There are tiers where they can purchase digital versions of of everything I've done, and then Kickstarter has done this great thing where they allow you to sell add-ons now. And so people make their pledge, and then they're kind of taken through an add-on shop. And if they want to buy the first trade paperback of Aberrant, they can buy the physical copy that's $15, or they can buy the digital copy that's like $6 or something like that. They can buy Aberrant Season 2. They can buy Banjax. They can buy Monster Matador, which is this thing I've done. They can buy issue 1 of the Jump, the Peacekeepers. And so again, you're introducing them to the other stuff you've done. And digital rewards are great because they don't cost you anything. If somebody orders one of these Cadillac comic books, I have to go out and pay to get it printed, and it's not inexpensive, right? A digital reward doesn't cost you anything, and so that can be a big thing. It adds value. It can help get your totals up with these add-ons. And
Rylend,
again,
do you mind if I jump in about digital rewards in particular?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, great. Yeah.
And this is also in response to Hanan's question, which is you say you offer other books for a pledge, but that is a PDF, right? Not the actual physical book. Global Comics, if you upload with Global Comics and you use that on your platform, or a platform for your comics, you can create custom promo codes that you can use as your digital rewards to fulfill. And you can also give access to, let's say, past backers or current backers to your back catalog as well. So that's fully customizable on Global Comics. I'm going to talk a little bit later after Rylend's done with this presentation about some of the ways that you can use the platform to also boost your backer and boost your backers and get more traffic on your campaign. But you can do all of that for free directly on the platform itself.
And I highly recommend their fulfillment services. There are other sites that I won't mention that charge an arm and a leg for stuff like that, and Global Comics, offers it to you, just kind of as part of their normal operating stuff, and it's really great. It's really dependable. So take a long look at that. I highly recommend it. So again, you talk about the premium experience. You talk about stuff that they're not going to be able to get anywhere else. Original art ends up being a big thing. And so you'll see I incorporate original art in a number of different ways here. So the first thing, sketch cards are a popular reward. Here's the thing is if you have a lot of questions about what should I offer, just go and find 5 or 6 Kickstarter campaigns that you like and just do what they did. That's what I did. You can come and you can look at, I've done 3, you can look at mine and just kind of steal everything I've done. Sketch cards are something that I stole from other people. And so they are 6x8, one of a kind, hand-drawn, hand-inked art from the artist. And they're beautiful, they're awesome, they're very popular. You can get about my backers get one of these and they get all 4 covers for about $100. And so you're getting a $100 pledge for these, and of course they get everything else. And they're wildly popular. They're beautiful. I mean, again, imagine you walk into a comic shop and you like a cover or you like a book, but you can't get an original drawing from that artist. Maybe you luck into tripping over them at a con, but here the backer has direct access to the to the artist, and that is very unique and very interesting. And so you want to find as many ways as possible to take advantage of that. And so these sketch cards are really interesting. You'll see some people say hey, well, he'll hand sketch anything you want. That can be awesome too. The problem I have with these specific sketch cards a lot of the time are that, again, my artist is in Brazil or my artist is in Portugal, and so I have to have those all shipped out to me from there. And that can be a little perilous, particularly now with, the price of shipping and COVID and all that stuff. And so, I'm careful about how I do those. Where you can really let loose is that I offer, we offer digital commissions. Fabio will do this. And again, Fabio is a big name in comics. Fabio's done any number of books. He is he was nominated for a Ringo Award for Best Cover Artist last year. And so he's a big time artist. You are not going to be able to to get Fabio to draw you anything, or probably afford Fabio under normal circumstances. But if you come to this Kickstarter campaign, Fabio will literally draw anything you want to, right? So original black and white commission from Fabio Alves. Here's an example of his art. This is actually the inked art from that Gremlins cover that was so popular. And so here's the deal. I think it costs, I think this is another $100 tier. You get all 4 books and you get an original commission from Fabio. And that is bargain basement, crazy price. We're only doing it for this. And literally it is whatever you want drawn, and this is a way to really engage with the backers. They get really excited about this. We have this one backer who he's a huge Star Wars fan, and he is a huge Iowa State football fan, right? And the thing that he likes to do is he gets dressed up in a stormtrooper outfit and he goes to Iowa football games, and he's like known in the Iowa football community. He's like I don't remember what his name is, but he's like a fixture at the games, right? And so almost every campaign he comes in and he pays for a commission, and he gets Fabio to draw him in his stormtrooper outfit. He has a stormtrooper outfit that's painted up like the Iowa football colors, and it's him standing on the Iowa football field, standing on standing on like a pile of like Alabama players or something like that. He has fun with it. It's awesome. Like he gets to create whatever he wants, and if you want a picture of your neighbor, fornicating with a goat, we'll draw it. You know what I'm saying? It is literally anything goes. People have fun with it. They love it. And it's an opportunity they'll never be able to get. And so then we go the extra mile with these, where if you want to pay a little bit more, I think maybe these are 130 or something like that. And you get 4 books, you get an original piece of art, and Edson Ferreira, who is the colorist on this, who was the colorist on Banjax, again, who was Ringo nominated for best colorist, will come in and color the art for you. Again, opportunity you're never going to get. World-class Rango nominated art team that will create whatever you want. Picture your family, a picture of you, in front of your car, whatever, anything goes. A picture of you as Superman. These are really special things. These are things that really get people excited. And so when you start to say like, what should I be offering? These are the sort of ways that you should be thinking. And this is how you take your campaign from like a $3,500 campaign or a $4,000 campaign to a $15,000 campaign or a $60,000 campaign. These are, this is where things get really exciting. And so this is my absolute favorite thing. Remember how we talked about those badass covers? The Mandalorian cover, yes, the Thomas Magnum cover, the Back to the Future cover, and we previously had I showed them before, we had a Ghostbusters cover, we had an Ice Cube Today Was a Good Day video cover. So we have this tier, which is the greatest tier ever, where we will put your face on one of our covers. And so if you want one of our covers with your face, you in Boba Fett's armor, walking away from Boba Fett's ship, you as Magnum PI sitting on Magnum PI's Ferrari, you as Marty McFly, you and your wife, or you and your husband, or whatever, we will do that for you. And so this is awesome. People go bonkers for these, and this is why we ask them, hey, what movies do you want this time? Because we know that we're going to put people on these covers. And so it's like, hey, I want to be Marty McFly next time, so give us Back to the Future. I want to be Boba Fett next time, so give us Mandalorian. And so this is really where things start to get crazy and interesting. And so these started out, I talked about the interaction with the fans here. And so normally when you go to a printer, you have to order like 500 copies, 1,000 copies of something, otherwise it gets like crazy expensive, right? And so in the beginning, we were only offering these as a digital reward. Like we would put you on the cover, and we would send you a beautiful print, and we would send you the finished print-worthy digital file. And so if you wanted to go and get a 24 by 36 poster of yourself printed up, you could do that with these. But the feedback we kept hearing from the people was, man, it would be really awesome if you could give me a copy of these with my, like an actual physical copy with me on it. And so then I knew that I had to figure out how to do it. so I went to like 5 or 6 different printers, and I finally found a printer that would do it for a reasonable price. And so now, now the backers have a choice. They can pay, they can pay one fee and have the digital file like normal, or they can pay a little bit more. I think it's about 20 bucks more, and they get 2 copies of the comic book with them on it. Physical copies, they're readable, the whole 9 yards. They're the same quality, as beautiful as the other ones. And so you can literally order a comic book with you as the Mandalorian on it, and people go bonkers for these. And you can actually see this is a guy, Aaron, who sent us that photo, and he wanted to be in the Ice Cube Today Was a Good Day video. And so there he is. And you can actually, in this one, you could actually change the message that was on the blimp. We had a guy named Phil who got one of these, and rather than the blimp saying Ice Cube's a pimp, it said Phil's a pimp. You can have a ton of fun with these things. They get fun. And so this idea of making people part of the actual book, the actual text, ends up being a huge deal. And so somewhere, a place where we make up a lot of ground are the Draw Me In tiers. These end up being huge. And so we do 2 different ones. There's the regular Draw Me In tier, which is about $200. And so for that, you can see this is the Bearded Comic Bro. He is a noteworthy comic book YouTuber, and he sent us this picture, and we put him in the background of the scene. And so you're a background character in a scene. It's a, I mean, a lot of people love this. They've read comics their whole life, and now they're in them, and it looks great. It looks like they're part of the scene. And so, but for $400, we do Draw Me In and Give Me Lines. And so for these ones, we will actually make you part of the story. You become a supporting character in the book. You have lines. You're interacting with the main characters of the book. And so, again, this could be you. And so, that might mean that you're on 2 pages interacting with the, and again, here's some examples. A guy sends us this, and this is how he ends up in the book. And his tattoos are like photorealistic. This is a pipe that only he smokes, and his favorite pipe is in there. And so people go crazy for these. I think we sold on the last Jump campaign, I think we had 6 people take us up on these. And again, you want to talk about, taking your campaign from, into the stratosphere. That really helps. 6 of these at about $400 a pop. So start thinking this way. How can you give people, again, an experience that they would never have before? And we take that even a step further. And so for $1,000, we will do an original story that takes place in the world of the Jump, 5 pages, starring you. And so every campaign I've done, we've sold at least one of these. And so the idea is somebody backed, for the Jump 1 campaign, somebody bought one of these. And so they are going to appear in the back of the printed issue of Jump number 2. And so if you back this campaign, you'll get the story starring this person. And man, it's been fun. And so it's like, so I get with the, I get with the backer, and I get, 20 photo references from them, and I get access to their Instagram page, and I find out what their interests are. And we build a story, that it's not a generic story. It's a, hey, what are you into, and what are the things you like? And there was a guy who bought one on the Peacekeepers who really wanted his dog to be part of the story, and so we made his dog like a principal part of the story. And so we build this stuff with the backer, and they're very much invested in it. They're very much co-authors of this thing, and it comes to life, and it's awesome. And so these are the kind of experiences that you want to try to build with your backers. I mean, these are, and you know what? It's like the people that back these tiers, they, if you treat them right, they're going to come back over and over and over again. I mean, I have one person who I've done 3 of these now, and he's and he's backed at the Put Me In and Give Me Lines level every time. I think about an hour into this current campaign, he backed at that tier. And again, like he just had a great experience the first time, and so he keeps coming back, and he loves kind of being part of the process. And again, this book wouldn't exist without him. So he's kind of the reason that we're allowed to do this. And so again, just making them as much a part of the process as possible, and actually make them part of the book is amazing. So some of the other things I do one-on-one Skype sessions, so for, I think it's around $100 again. you can have a one-on-one consultation with me. I mean, it's it's along the lines of what we're doing now, but it's tailored specifically to you. Like people will give me a pitch document to read beforehand, and I'll read it up, and so we'll have an hour-long consult. Be like, hey, yeah, I love this, and maybe you can improve on this, and maybe Dark Horse is a good home with that. But also obviously, like, I've been working in the film business forever. So do you need film and TV pitch feedback? Do you need a comic book how-to? Do you want advice on getting your first book published, where to take it and who to contact? You set the agenda. I've done a number of these over the years, and they're always great. And then I kind of become a resource. I end up giving you my email address at the end of these things, and then I have people hitting me up, for years afterwards. And I mean, for me, it's good because it's like it's another comic professional who's an ally, and so I help them a little bit, and then years down the road, they end up helping me with something. And so these end up being good things. It's good to kind of get FaceTime. And so if you have, a service to offer like that, if you have some knowledge that, that maybe other people would enjoy, having a little bit of, then offer something like this. And so the final bigger tier is that I actually, now I stole this from a lot of people that do like movie Kickstarters on here. You've probably pledged movie Kickstarters, you've probably seen them, and they will offer producer credit tiers. So I'm kickstarting my feature length movie, and for X amount of dollars, you can become a producer on the movie. Well, of course, my business is I kind of make these things, and then I have this track record of getting them turned into movies and TV shows, right? And so that doesn't happen unless I get the book made, and the book doesn't get made unless I raise money on Kickstarter. And so I have just kind of made that a part of my my business model here. And so I offer people producer credit. It starts out on the book, and I get one or two of these every go round. You can see I offer them a credit right next to me. You'll see writer, artist, colorist, letterer, associate producer. And so for we have I think the first one is I think we have an associate producer credit, a co-producer credit, and an executive producer credit, and it's kind of a ladder. And so the deal is you're listed with the creators of the book as a producer, and then you get that same producer credit when and if it becomes a movie or a TV show. And a lot of people are interested in that. There are a lot of people on here who, like, they want to get into the Hollywood game. They want to amass producer credits. They want to they want projects on their list. They want to be a part of bringing things to life, bringing comics to the screen, and this is a good way to do it. Retailer tiers can be a big boon. A lot of retailers can't afford to come on and pay $20 for a book, and ultimately you want these things in comic shops. You want to introduce it to other people, and so every go round I get a couple of retailers who will come in, and I give them a big steep discount on for I think for about $100 they can get 10 copies of the book, and I've expanded it to where now I've done 3 Kickstarters, so they get 10 copies, but they can choose, if they want Jump 1, Jump 2, the Peacekeepers, a mix. They can choose whatever they want. They can choose which covers they want, regular, variant, the whole 9 yards. I'll sign them all. Signing ends up being a big thing too on these. I don't think I've covered that. Like, signing your books is a big deal. For me, I mean, I'm a creator with some cachet, right? And now with COVID, there are no cons. So there's literally no way to get my signature on something. But even during the con season, it's like, well, my day job is film and television, so I have to be here in LA. I have a 4-year-old. I don't have a lot of time. I don't travel everywhere, so maybe you catch me at a SoCal con, but otherwise you can't get anything signed by me. Here is an opportunity to get everything signed by me. You can get the Jump, you can get the Peacekeepers, but then also, like, if you want if you want Aberrant, if you want Banjax, that's a way it's kind of the only way to get my signature on stuff. So a lot of people value that, and they get that, and they pay a premium for that. And with the retail tier, I make sure to include books. And then the other thing I do is I treat the retailers as well as I can. So I throw in a ton of extra stuff, signed copies of Aberrant, Banjax, the Peacekeepers, just go overboard and load the retailers up because they keep this business going.
Hey, Rylend.
Yeah.
Really quickly, Skylar had a question. What exactly does this producer credit instill on them besides their name in the credits? Do they have some say in the story, direction, etc., or is it more of an honorary title?
It's it is, honorary is they do not have decision making ability unless it ends up being unless there's a specific arrangement. But yeah, through Kickstarter, I mean, there are any number of on almost every film you see. Excuse me, let me get some water. I'm starting to get a frog in my throat. On almost every film you see, there are money producers, right? There are people who just brought money to the production, and that's half the battle. I mean, another producer might bring an actor to the mix. Another producer might bring the script to the mix. Producing is really about bringing a piece of the pie together, and the funding is a big part of that. Particularly bringing the IP to life is a big part of that. And so it is a producer credit in that spirit. I mean, just like the guy who offered up the $2 million to get the film made, it is the guy who played or gal who played a key role in kind of bringing the IP to life, right? So I think that answers the question. Is there another question, or?
No, that was just that one that very specific.
Okay, yeah, and so one thing that Kickstarter has added recently that can really be a boon to your totals is the add-ons. They didn't used to do them. They didn't do them until very recently. It used to be that you had to go and pay back or get a bunch of money, to get the add-ons going. Now Kickstarter lets you do it, and every add-on you sell adds to your total. That's a great thing. And so I make sure to kind of, I mean, you can go ahead and look at my project and you can see what my add-ons are, but you can get almost everything Aberrant there, almost everything Banjax, and again, you can get it signed. You can get previous issues of The Jump a la carte, again signed. You can get my other Kickstarter book, The Peacekeepers, there, a la carte. And then the real thing, again, when you go in and we're talking about offering people things that they can't get anywhere else, I have all of these uber rare exclusive con variants. And so I've been creating these things for more than a few years now. And so when there's a con variant, I make sure to get my stack of them, right? And so these are books that were only available, like the Gremlins variant was available for 3 days at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019. There were only 50 of them ever printed. And Action Lab no longer has any of them. I have a stash of them, and you can only get them here. So you can get a 1 of 50 book that people went wild for, and you can only get it here. And that goes for the Rocky IV variant that was only available at Baltimore Comic-Con in 2019. The Banjax Demon in a Bottle variant, the Coming to America variant, the Karate Kid variant, the Weekend at Bernie's variant. And so again, like, people could just never get this stuff. And so, I have people that, I mean, they would hit me up on Twitter like 3 years later and be like, hey dude, I tripped over a picture of this variant online. Is there any way for me to get one of these? And the answer was no, but I found a way to make them available here. And so if you have stuff like this kind of uber rare stuff, it's nice to give them kind of an exclusive shot at this stuff, right? Otherwise, like, it's going to kind of sit in my garage. And so those things end up being big hits, big sellers, and again, they add to your totals. So the other thing I do is just kind of building out the swag. A lot of people love the swag, and a lot of the swag comes out with stretch goals. So you want to make sure that as you kind of reach your goal and you start to make more money, that you're building out the experience for your people. Stretch goals are very important. And so the first thing we do is the moment we hit our goal at $7,000, we give everyone that bonus digital extravaganza that I was talking about. It's a dozen, 15, 20 comics from some of the hottest creators in comics. Like we've had Kevin Eastman, we've had David Pepos, and on and on and on. And so again, you immediately add value. Like when we hit our goal, you're going to share in that wealth. And so it used to be that you were receiving 4 issues for your pledge, and now you're receiving 16 or 20 at $10,000. We give out an exclusive print, and you know, and we have a gorgeous one this time. And then my favorite one of all time is when we hit our third stretch goal at $13,000. We do 3 Rylend Grant comics verse trading cards, and so, you know, I am a fanboy, right, at heart. And so the idea, you know, if you told me at 10 that I was going to grow up and make my own series of trading cards, I would have fucking shat myself. I would have never believed you. And so, you know, we make, you know, these books have fans, and they love seeing kind of trading cards for the books. So so Lance Cordry here is a character from Aberrant. He was when we won Best Villain for Aberrant, Lance Cordry was the best villain. And so we did a send up of, some of you people will know this, some of you won't, but there was, in the 90s, there was a Billy Ripken Fleer baseball card where his teammates wrote fuckface on the bottom of his bat, and Fleer didn't catch it, and it ended up printed. It was this iconic card. It's my favorite card of all time. And so we did a takeoff, you know, we did a parody of the fuckface card with our Lance Cordry. We did we took the main character of Banjax, Laird Mason, and we put him on a garbage pail kid. We took our bank robbery book, and we did an FBI wanted poster card, and people flip for these things. And so and people want to collect them all. And so every campaign we do 3 more. And we have people who like come onto the new campaign and they're like devastated that they missed out on the earlier cards. And so we make sure that when we print them, we print more than we need. And people can catch up. So if you're new to this campaign, you can buy the cards from the previous campaign, and people do, and people love it. You know, we give these things away for a song, usually for free, but people love them. People love the swag. And so so limited edition prints that they'll only get here, cards like this that they can only get there, those become big things. Again, it's just it's important to set these stretch goals and just improve the experience every time. So I just think that that's a great thing. And so in the end, I just remind people of who's behind the project. You know, we're this team. We've done these great books. I'm fortunate enough, again, that these books have been nominated for awards. Banjax made over a dozen critics 10 best lists in 2019, and so, you know, I list some of those accolades. I have some of these pull quotes from reviewers that talk about how great, you know, our previous books are. You know, again, it just lets people know that they're in good hands, that they're going to get a quality book, a quality experience, that they're going to like what they get. One last assurance that they're in good hands, right? You know, lead with whatever you can, and then again, let them know, you know, hey, our, you know, Aberrant was optioned for a TV series by you know, again, just you're giving your cred again at the end of this thing before you kind of let people loose. And so the last thing I'll do before I just kind of throw it open and start answering your questions, I know this has gone long. I didn't expect it to go this long, but there's a lot to cover, and I apologize for that. I'm just going to take you quickly through like dollar amounts, and a lot of this will kind of be self-explanatory if you just go to the Kickstarter page afterwards and just look at how I built this. But you want to kind of build it. You know, it becomes like it's tiers that kind of, you know, every next tier includes the tier before it, right? And you want to make sure that there's something cool that next tier up for just a few dollars more, right? And so maybe the person who comes in and they thought they were going to spend 20, they look at the $25 tier and they're like, oh, you know what, that would be you know, that would be cool. Oh, but wait a minute, the $30 tier is a little bit more than that. And you know, and then pretty soon again, like you're turning, you know, what was maybe going to be a $20 pledge into maybe a $30 pledge or a $50 pledge. You never know. So it's this ladder that you climb. But you know, so you start out low for $5. You know, you get Aberrant and Banjax, and you get a thank you in the credits. You know, for $8, you're getting 3 issues. You're getting Aberrant, Banjax, and you're getting the Jump #2. And this one specifically is for the people who they were already there for Jump #1, right? And so all they need to do is come in, pick up the Jump 2, and so they're getting a kind of discounted rate on that. If you weren't here for Jump 1, then you're picking up digital versions of 1 and 2 just for $15. And these are pretty standard prices. This is what people get on Kickstarter, and so don't be afraid to just go with that. You know, for again, I have my early bird tiers, the regular edition of the book, is around $20. And again, this, pretty standard Kickstarter pricing. I went in and I looked at what other people were charging, and I think that that's the best way to do it. Now I, like a disclaimer on this, I've done a couple of Kickstarters. I do have some creds, some awards nominations and stuff like that. And so maybe if you're just starting out, you've never done anything, then maybe you don't want to charge quite this much. Maybe you want to charge $15, $13. It all depends, and it also depends on what else they're getting, because they're not just getting a book for $18. They're getting 20 other issues. They're getting all of the art files. They're the publisher pitch document. They're getting all of this other stuff that you've built. So it's this huge package. It's this huge experience that they're getting for that. Once the early bird wears off, then it's up to $20. The variant editions are more limited. We're not printing as many of those, so those are a little bit more expensive. 23 on the early bird, 25 for choice of variant. You can sometimes add a premium for a signed book. When you have to ship out 500 books, it obviously takes time to slow down and kind of sign all these things, and so there's an argument to be made. There should be a premium for that. Also, it's like if there's a premium for it, it means that there are fewer signed books, and that somebody that gets one is a little more special. What I will say is that at a certain point, I just make sure that everything is signed. So with the premium tiers, everything comes signed, no questions, and again, that ends up being one of the good things about backing a premium tier. In this case, again, I'm selling issue 2 of something. Those previous tiers, people are just buying issue 2. Those are for people who have been around before, but some people might have to catch up. So we have our catch-up tiers, and catch-up tiers signed. There is the digital stockpile. So for again, digital awards don't cost you anything. That ends up being a good thing. But for one low price, they can literally get a digital copy of everything I've done. I think that ends up being 20 comic issues or something like that, and plus they get all the bonus content, so they're getting 40 issues or something like that for that price. That's a very popular tier. Here's the all 4 covers tier. Again, as I said, a lot of people they love that so much that they'll come in and they'll buy all 4 covers. Day one we already have 3 people that said I need to have all 4. But also now we get to the point where the premium tiers start, and then all of the premium tiers include all 4 issues. So you have 3 people who bought the all 4 covers signed tier, but then everyone that came after them is also getting the all 4 covers, and so that's a little bit deceptive. And so with issue 2, I have all 8 covers, so they can come in and they can get all 4 of those covers from issue 1, all 4 of those covers from issue 2, and then again, instead of selling them 1 issue, I've sold them 8 issues, and it's an $80 pledge, and of course, every time they're buying a little more, they're getting a discount on them. So it's like, so you're getting all 8 covers, but you're getting them at about $10 a piece, and that ends up being a real value. So they're offering value, and again, they're getting all of the content that came before it. They're getting all of the digital issues, all the process stuff, all the bonus stuff, and then it just kind of goes from there. And so there's the print stockpile where, for $100, they can get a print copy of everything I've ever done. Again, so instead of just selling them the jump, I've sold them Banjax and Aberrant and the Peacekeepers. And again, I think this is great content, so it's awesome. And they didn't, and a lot of them didn't know about Aberrant before then, and they didn't know about Banjax, and they see that, oh my God, yeah, it's won these awards and it's had these accolades, and so I want that. Where can I get it? Oh, I can get it right here. And so again, you've changed this from a campaign to make one book into a store to sell all of your wares, into a con table. And so that's really what you want to do, I think, if you want to build these things. There's the one-on-one Skype session that we talked about. And again, everybody who buys that, they get the Skype session, but they also get all 4 copies of the book. They also get all the bonus content. The retail tier we talked about, the original art tier. Again, you're getting that original sketch card, and you're getting all four. You're getting all 4 copies. You're getting everything that came before it. The digital commission. You're getting the digital commission, and you're getting all 4 copies. So again, like the all 4 copies tier was $60, and so you're getting that digital commission for $40. And Fabio's raid is hundreds of dollars. Edson's raid is very expensive, and so again, it's, you know, for the art, it's the deal of a lifetime, right? The put me on the cover. You're getting all 4 regular issues, and then you're getting 2 more issues with you on it, and you're getting everything else from the tiers before it, and so you can see how this stuff gets built out. And every time, you know, it's just it's $10 up, it's $5 up, it's $20 up. But there's something great, you know, up every tier. And of course, like some people come in with a budget. Some people don't expect that there's going to be all this cool stuff, but they might just work their way up the ladder. And so that's what you want to do. You just want to make sure that there are great options for them here. And so I think that pretty much, I know we've gone long. I think that pretty much sums everything up. So let's start firing away on the questions.
Excellent. Yeah, if you do you want me to feed those to you, Rylend, or do you want to
Yeah,
just look through?
feed them to me if you can, because it's going to take me a
Sure.
while to go through them, and I have a feeling like you've been. Let me stop the share here, and
Okay, perfect.
yeah.
Okay, so just to touch on some of the things you just talked about, Vince wanted to know printing and postage on international tier backers can add up. What's a good margin rate to leverage against your costs per tier?
Yeah, well, that is so this is a great question, and you know, and you're asking this, I think, because you know that international shipping rates have basically doubled over the last year, and it's been devastating to us, and they continue to keep going up. And so it's not an easy question. I mean, what I will say is it's really good to have kind of partners in crime on Kickstarter, and for a number of reasons, and that's not something I've talked about, is that you know, a lot of people ask, and maybe I'm answering another question while I say this, is okay, so how do you grow your fan base? Like if you have 50 people you know will back, how do you bring more people to the mix? And the easy answer to that, and the most effective answer, is that you kind of do horse trading with other campaigns. So if you and I are running a campaign at the same time, I contact you and I say, hey, I was looking at your campaign, the book looks great, why don't we promote why don't we trade mentions of our campaigns in our backer update? So I'm doing a regular backer update. Hey guys, we had a great first day. Here's where we're headed. Here's what I'm adding to the campaign. Oh, and by the way, you really should check out this other campaign that John's doing. I looked at it. I backed it myself. I think it's great. You should look at this. And now suddenly, all of my backers have seen your campaign, and they're going over to that. So my fan base has become your fan base. You've shared my campaign with your fan base. Your fan base becomes my fan base, and again, it's already people who want to back these, who are on Kickstarter. They're active. They want to find great comic projects, and so a recommendation from somebody like me or somebody like you can mean a lot, right? And so there's a lot of that. So that's an important thing. To get back to your question, what having partners in crime on Kickstarter, wingmen and women, is that you can go to them and ask them these questions. I only built my Kickstarter because I had people that I could go to and ask, and that's what I've tried to do for you, is kind of give you a peek behind the curtain. But I went to a Charlie Stickney and I asked the same question, like, hey Charlie, what do you charge for shipping, right? And here's the thing, is like, you don't want to go broke charging, you don't want to go broke charging too little, right? But you don't want to charge too much, because it's gonna turn backers off. You don't want to gouge people on shipping, so you want to charge the lowest amount imaginable. And so, you know, for a single floppy, I think I charge you know, there's a threshold, because I go with premium packaging. Again, it's a premium experience. So I'm not just putting this thing into an envelope and sending it off where it's going to cost me a couple of dollars. I'm putting it into, you know, every comic is in its own premium bag and premium board. It goes into a, I wish I had one lying around here, but it goes into a Gemini mailer, which is heavy duty. It is, you can roll a tank over it and the books are going to be fine. And so when these people get their books, they're going to be in perfect condition. Again, it's a Cadillac of an experience. It's going to look great. And so it's going to cost me a little more to ship, right? And so I think I charge somewhere around $5 for a backer in the USA to start. And then I have a price for Canada, which I think it used to be $12. It might be around $15 now, because again, the price has gone up for international shipping, even Canada. And then I have a price for the rest of the world, which is, I think it used to be 25, and it might be 30 now, because, and I lose money on that, because it costs so much to ship. I mean, it can cost you $35 to send something to Australia right now. And so you really have to balance that. I mean, it's if somebody in Australia wants to back, they may see that $35 shipping charge and then just not back, right? So it's a balance. I try to, with international shipping, I usually lose a little bit of money with it, but I would rather have the backer than anything, because that's a backer who will come back again and again and again, somebody who will support your work. And so, I'm making a little bit of money at a certain point. Once I sell enough, I'm making a bit of money on the books, so I can afford to take a loss on the shipping. That's a trade-off that's worth it for me. It might not be worth it for you, and if you're only selling 100 copies of something, then it may definitely not be worth it. So you have to be careful about shipping big time. And then of course, the price goes up. When you're dealing with those 4-issue those 4-issue blocks, that people are buying all 4 covers, or if somebody's buying the print catch-up tier, where they're getting an Aberrant trade paperback and a Banjax trade paperback and all 4 issues of the Jump and all 4 issues of this, and suddenly they have a stack of comics like this. My go-to hack is that the USPS flat rate legal mailer will save your life, right? Because there's no weight limit on it. Whatever will fit in the mailer, you can send for like $7.50. And so you can have a stack of comics like this, right? And if you weighed these up and tried to mail them to somebody, it would cost you $25 even in the States, but they will fit into the USPS flat rate legal mailer, and you can ship that for $7.50. So that will save your life. The Gemini mailer can go directly into one of those things also. So get those. And so I think I answered the question. If I didn't, fire away with a follow-up, or, again, you can hit me up on Twitter and I can answer specifics on those.
Rylend, so now let's jump back, because we have people who've been now waiting for some time.
Yeah.
Let's
Sorry,
jump back
guys,
to the beginning. So let's start with Jay, and he said, they asked, can Kickstarter be used to get exposure to a larger market of comic readers, or does a creator need to build an audience first and bring them over to Kickstarter?
It helps to have an audience when you go in, of course, because again, you want people to show up day one, you want people to know who you are. But it's not necessary. Again, like the biggest and best thing that Kickstarter does for you, the money is fine, but it is a fan base builder first and foremost. So again, it's the Charlie Stickney rule. Charlie Stickney came on, nobody knew who he was, but he put out a good book, and he found 300 people to back his project on Kickstarter that first time. And every time he's come back, and Kickstarter has made him a star, and now he gets 1,500 people to back his book on Kickstarter every time. They all found him via Kickstarter, and because of that, he now has a major comics career. He has books and shops. He's going to be nominated for a Ringo next year. And in fact, Scout Comics was so impressed with what he had built on Kickstarter that they made him co-publisher. And so this is a fan base builder first and foremost. So go out and find your fan base here. There's a rabid audience that wants comics. If you build a good book, they will find you on here and they will love you. So
fantastic. Patricia wants to know that they're almost done with their manga, and any tips on getting it out there. So maybe how do you start building that audience?
Kickstarter is a great way, right? again, I mean, there are a ton of people. I mean, there's a specific manga category, and there are people that, their hobby is going on Kickstarter and finding manga comics. And so if you've done a great project and you put it up, you will find an audience on Kickstarter. And so I think that's the first step. And, that's the beauty is like, it used to be that if you had this manga comic, you only had a couple of publishers to go to. And if you didn't have a name already, those publishers didn't want anything to do with you, because there are well-known manga people that want to be published, and the publishing company only has so many slots. Now you don't have to wait for permission. You can go, you put it up on Kickstarter. If it's good, people will buy it, and you will make your name on Kickstarter. And then the manga companies will come to you. I put the jump out there, and I had publishers coming to me being like, "Hey, when can we publish this? When can we publish this?" And I had to be like, "Slow down, guys. I'm gonna do a couple of Kickstarters first and make some money and build an audience there, and then you guys can have it." So go to Kickstarter. That's the advice.
So Skylar wants to know, how do you typically approach comic shops as an indie? I found it difficult given the current market, hearing back from comic shops interested in selling small indie books, period, besides local shops that I already networked with.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, usually the only way it works is you have to go in there, you look the proprietor in the eye, you shake his or her hand, and maybe they'll sell some books for you on consignment. But it's just like it's so hard for them right now. I mean, they're having a hard time moving Image and Marvel and DC, and so it's just hard. Every comic shop, there are databases online of comic shops and email addresses, and so you can phone numbers, you can call them, but in my experience, it's kind of a waste of time. If you want your book in a comic shop, I would bring attention to it some other way, like doing a successful Kickstarter, building a name on Kickstarter. And then once you have your name and a little cachet, then publishers will be interested in it, and then those publishers will put it in comic shops. I think that's the way to do it. I mean, I just think it's it's like, hey, how do I play in the major leagues now? It's you may be able to get into to go see a game or something like that, but just take the necessary steps to get there and get there right, I think is my advice.
I'd also add too that a lot of larger indie publishers on Global Comics are trying to get their name out there if they're not running a campaign through digital distribution, just because it's so simple to send a link out and just to be able to reach as many people as possible that then end up driving your print sales, driving your Kickstarters, things like that. So
I think that's great advice. And yeah, what I would say is like, don't worry about comic shops. You know what I'm saying? It's like, again, think about where music went. It used to be that you had to be in Tower Records. Like, don't worry about don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like now people buy in iTunes. They listen on Spotify. Like, Global Comics is the Spotify of the comics business. You know what I'm saying? So get your comics, Comixology is iTunes. You guys are Spotify. So go and get it on iTunes, get it on Spotify, get it on Comixology, get it on Global Comics. You can do that, and you'll draw an audience, and comic shops will come later and when they need to. But there's so many other ways to reach people. Just concentrate on that.
Now, Tony wants to know, does Kickstarter give the Project We Love stamp during their review or after you launch?
Yeah, that's a tough one. The first thing I'll say before I forget about it, again, if you like this, before I can see people kind of dropping off because this has gone long, but if you like this, check the Jump Out, consider supporting the campaign. It's a great book. Everybody who reads it loves it. I think you'll love it. So go check that out. Back to the question. So the Project We Love stamp is a bit of a mystery. Now, I didn't get it for for my first campaign. I got it for the Peacekeepers and the Jump 2 before the projects were even launched. And I think what helped with that is that when I did the first Jump campaign, and again, they didn't know what to make of me, right? I'd never been on the platform, but they got to know me when I did that first Kickstarter. I did it right. It was successful. I worked well with other people on the platform, and more than that, like I I made sure to communicate with the people at Kickstarter and make myself an asset to them. And I am a huge fan and cheerleader for the platform. Obviously, you guys heard me on your previous panel. I'm doing this now. I have a comic podcast that you guys should all listen to. It's called The Writer's Block, that I do with David Avalone, who writes with Kevin Eastman. And we're on there singing Kickstarter's praises all the time. I think I made myself an asset to the Kickstarter community. I'm a super backer. And when they saw all of that, I think they were much more inclined to make my project a project we love. They're like, this is a person who is an asset to the community, who backs, who promotes other campaigns, who sings the praises of the platform, and that was important. And then the other thing is, your project has to be good, and it has to be presented in a good, clean way. And I've gotten to the point where I can do that now. And so yeah, if you go on, you create a good campaign, do some of the things we talked about, go find campaigns you like and emulate them, and then just endear yourself to the community. It'll come. But ultimately, I can't say do this, and this, because it's a bit of a mystery. Nobody knows. Somebody at Kickstarter has to see it and like it and flip the switch.
So we have a couple questions now that were related to the video component. The first was just a quick one, which is, what were the 4 touch points to hit in the video and the pitch? That's from Daniel.
Yeah, well, I mean, the 4 touch points is, it's more about determining what your touch points are, right? I think that you need to figure out what is interesting about you and sell yourself to the people. The first thing I do is I show a little bit of the book. I come on, I introduce myself. I'm this person. I wrote in Hollywood for these people. I created these books that you probably heard about that won these awards, and I'm bringing you this project, right? And so then the second thing you have to do is sell your book. What is the plot of your book in like a sentence or two? Sell that concisely. You don't want to drone on forever. Did you just lose my? Did you lose my ears, or can you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I think one of mine dropped out. So let me know if the other one drops out. Okay. So sell your book as concisely as possible. And then again, like, what is going to entice them? It's like, this is the plot, but then also like, this is what it is. I mean, I like to boil it down to just a, this is, let me find my thing. The Jump is a smart, high concept sci-fi thriller full of meaty twists and turns. It's Inception meets The Bourne Identity if it were dripping with macabre, and directed by David Fincher. Like, that sentence packs a lot of punch, right? That is a punch in the face, and they get it. Like, either they like Inception and The Bourne Identity and they like David Fincher, or they don't, and if they like those things, they're going to love this, right? And so that's what you do, is just how do you tell them everything that's great about this book in like 4 little sections, get in, get out, and then tell them what's cool about the campaign. I mean, you saw it in my video, you can go rewatch it. And then I get to, now I think you just lost me. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I just had to switch to my, I went so long that my earbud.
A new record.
Yeah. It's like, these are the cool things. We'll put you on a cover. We'll put you in the book. You can become a producer on the project. There are 4 variant covers, all that stuff. So it's like, so that's what you want to hit.
Fantastic. There's 2 more technical questions about actually making the video. One is, how do you knock out your videos so quickly? Like, what do you use? And can you add a motion comic video into the campaign from YouTube?
God, I don't know the technical questions. I deal with an editor, so I guess that's my.
There we go.
If you're experienced on this stuff, go with it. If not, farm it out. There are people who do it for free. There are people who do it for $100 or something like that. Just take that off your plate. You have plenty to do building this campaign, so don't take everything on.
Okay. So quick question: do you pay taxes for Kickstarter donations?
Yeah, you do. You get a 1099 from them for each project, and it's independent contractor income, right? And you have to account for how you spent that, right? And so of course, a lot of money goes into
actually producing one of these things, right? So you can write off all your art costs, your printing costs, save all those receipts. But then you have to pay taxes on the profit, right? So if the book cost you $9,000 and you made 11, then you got to pay taxes on $2,000, and the IRS will tell you what you owe. So
okay, simple.
yeah.
Okay, for outside print, Vince wants to know, for outside printing of the comic, is it important to coordinate timing of printing once you have got funding? The quicker you are ready for press with funding adds credibility, no?
Yeah, I mean, you want to deliver that book as soon as humanly possible. You don't want to overpromise. I think my delivery date is usually about 3 months from the start of the campaign, so that gives me about 2 months to deliver afterwards, I think. If there's a holiday, like I did one kind of before Christmas, and I knew that the holiday, the New Year, the whole 9 yards was going to slow things down a lot, particularly in COVID. So I added a month. And you can always deliver early, right? If you tell people 3 months, 4 months, like they're not going to bat an eyelash, and then you look like a hero if you deliver a month early. So keep that all in mind. And again, they will forgive anything as long as you keep them in the loop. But yeah, I mean, I made sure my printer was lined up before I launched the campaign. And so I went to them. I said, "Hey, this is what I want to do. This is how long the book is. These are the features I want." And it's important, right? Because like if you're going to correctly set, your fundraising goal, you need to know how much printing is going to cost, right? And so you need to take that all into consideration. And I really recommend Comic Impressions again as a printer. They're great. They'll work with you. They do tons of Kickstarter books, and they're excellent, and they do a great product.
Excellent. We're going to just answer the questions that had already been asked, but we're not going to take any more just because we're at the 2.5 hour mark and we need to, wrap things up shortly. So for Nathan, he wanted to know, at this level, are you utilizing contracts with your artists?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I wouldn't fly without a contract at all. It's very important. It doesn't have to be very complex, and you can you might be able to go on you might be able to find some online, just sample agreements, and then just kind of swap in your variables. If you need one, I think I have like a basic one. You can hit me up on Twitter, and I will I'll figure out how to email you one. But yeah, definitely. It doesn't need to be too complex. Just you're doing this work for this amount of money per page, you're delivering by this date, and blah 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 blah. And ownership gets a little bit more complex, but I have templates for that. So
absolutely. I'll also add that Kamal, our Global Comics' VP of Content, is a contract lawyer for comics. So if anybody has anything that is more complicated, you can always reach out to his creative contract consulting firm just to plug him too.
It's a really great resource. I mean, I have the benefit of having an entertainment lawyer, so I kind of have that umbrella. But yeah, if you're if you have questions, like absolutely go to somebody like that, and he's really top notch. So that highly recommended on this.
Yeah, and I'll paste all his information as well in the notes after. Skylar, their first question is, how does the whole offering other people's comics as a stretch goal work? Do you pay a flat fee for using the books in your Kickstarter rewards, or is it more of a shared exposure value?
Yeah, it's just about having friends in the business, right? You make friends with other creators, other people on Kickstarter, and they give me an issue for my campaign, and I give them an issue for their campaign. So if you've backed any of my friends' campaigns, you probably got Banjack's #1, something like that. And so we all just help each other out. It's again, Kickstarter is a community and an ecosystem, so that's what you want to do. You want to go in, make yourself part of it, make your be of service to the other creators, and you'll get that back twofold. So yeah.
So Catherine wanted to know, a side comment on being a process junkie. You mentioned a while back that selling your story to a magazine first helped with generating interest in the comic version. Thanks for the information. Have you considered using Writer's Market for not only demographics, but finding a magazine with a large circulation? That way, if the magazine were in on the media push, you could get backing not only for the Kickstarter project, but the 30% follower conversion rate that would come from from a larger slice of the pie?
What is Writers Market? Is that like a website or what?
That is a great question. Why don't we come back to that question? I'll look that up.
Okay.
Sam wanted to know, I apologize if this has been covered. How do you deal with the language barrier between you and your artistic team in South America? Do things get lost in translation?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think I sort of said it's like I mean, I'm lucky in that we're communicating in English. It's kind of the burden of the translating is on them. And I didn't demand it or anything. It's just I guess I'm the boss, and so that was just how they made it. So I'm lucky. It's harder on them. And so I've had artists. My Hungarian artist spoke very great English. But yeah, with the other guys, it's I send them an email. I try to be as clear as possible, which isn't easy for me because I speak in a lot of metaphors and stuff like that, and so I had to learn to kind of not do that as much. Just be very clear and very basic in my language. I think that again, my email goes into Google Translate. They usually understand about 95% of what I am asking, and then they ask questions, and it usually gets worked out. Every once in a while, there's a thing that we really get hung up on, but it's not it's never anything you can't overcome. And you know what, it's like these men and women, they want to be comic professionals working in the American industry, and so they have necessarily developed a process for working with English speaking employers, right? And they've gotten very good at it, and they get better at it as they go along, and if they don't get good at it, then they don't get hired. So yeah, that's the answer.
So Daniel wants to know, when you offer prints of your older comics in the new Kickstarters, are you only offering up what you've initially printed, or are you doing new print runs based on demand? And if so, are those new prints categorized as second prints, etc.?
Yeah, I would categorize things as second prints if I was going to print more. Let's say there's always a question of what to print, right? So I try to. There's some people who they do not, they don't have the money. They didn't make a ton of money on their Kickstarter, so they'll just go in and print what they need, right? Okay, well, I had I sold 100 of these. I'm going to print up 110 just so I have a couple in case things get damaged or something like that. There are people on the other end of the spectrum, like Charlie Stickney went in and with White Ash issue 1, he sold 300 well, whatever it was, he had 300 backers, so maybe he sold like 200 copies of the regular edition, but he printed up 1,000. And so it cost him money to do that, but then for the next 4 or 5 campaigns, he had copies of issue 1 to give away. He had issues to sell at cons, at tables and stuff like that. And so there's an argument to be made for that. I am somewhere in the middle, where I already have a garage full of my comics that were in comic shops, and my wife like stresses about it, and so I don't want to overdo it. More importantly, I want to make sure that these are limited, right? That again, the Kickstarter backer is getting something that is really premium and limited, and so I print up, I print up what I need, and then I print up, a batch more, depending on what it is. With the regular, I print up more of the regular covers than the variant covers, and make sure the variant covers are really limited. Sometimes those are just 100 copies a piece or something like that, and then again, then people know that they're getting something really limited. And so if I wouldn't reprint. If I was gonna reprint a cover, I would maybe change it pretty dramatically, so it looked different, and so it was like a second printing, and very obviously a second printing. I may change the color scheme completely, or frame it, put it in a frame or something like that, or with most of the variant covers, I probably just wouldn't even do it. But with a regular cover, I may print some more and make it a definitive second printing. Like maintain the integrity of this stuff, because people care about it. Collectors are coming on, and they want this stuff to be premium, and it's your responsibility to guarantee that.
So the last couple questions are, how do you get your overseas artists to sign books?
I don't. That's the quick answer. When the only way to get a signature from the overseas artist is to get one of those sketch cards. So they do a hand drawn, hand ink drawing, and they sign it. I would love to do it, but it's even difficult here. I mean, it's back to Charlie Stickney. Like he has an artist in the States, but he lives in like Pennsylvania, and Charlie lives in LA. So they had to like ship hundreds of books out to his artist, and then ship them back, and they get damaged during the shipping, and it's just a pain. So it's like if you guys like live in the same house or something like that, then that's easy to do. Otherwise, too much of a headache. Don't do it.
And we have finally come to the 39th and final question from Skylar, which is an age-old question.
Yeah.
How do you handle social media promotion starting out without coming off as annoying, given the stigma certain social media platform communities have with self-promotion?
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard not to tire people out, and also, I mean, also you're battling ugly algorithms. I mean, Twitter's pretty good. Facebook is terrible. Facebook hates anything Kickstarter related, so you have to like trick Kickstarter. I've literally like gone in, and if you mention Kickstarter or post a link in, then Facebook will just hide your post. And so I've literally gone in and like posted a recipe for lobster bisque, and then posted with it a picture that says, "Hey, I'm doing a Kickstarter. Go here," and then maybe pasted the link in like the third comment or something like that. You have to. But yeah. I mean, wearing thin it's just not. It's not easy. I'm still trying to figure it out. Don't overdo it. I maybe post once a day, or but you can make it. Rather than just being like, "Hey, my book's available. Here's a link. Go buy it." You can tell the story of the campaign, like oh guys, hey, great news, Kickstarter just made us a project we love. Hey, oh my god, we were funded in 48 hours. Hey, we just hit the 200 backer mark. It's like so people are kind of like charting the story. I think making a narrative out of it is a good way to do it. Making sure that you're not using the same art all the time is a big deal. I mean, you have an entire issue or an entire so show them something different every time. Hold stuff back, and debut the covers. Hey, you guys haven't seen this one yet. Anything you can get a little mileage out of like that, I think is a good deal. And then also like just making sure that you're mixing it up. Like on Instagram, I will in the morning post about the campaign, and then at night I will post something completely different. I mean, I have this like crazy toy collection, so so in the morning it's, hey, support my Kickstarter, and in the evening it's, hey, check out my Golden Girl skateboard. And then it keeps people interacting with your feed. It keeps them from getting kind of tired of what you're selling and all that stuff. So but man, it's difficult. What I will say is that social media has much less effect than you think it does. It is not a great and efficient way. You can spend a ton of energy on social media and it doesn't convert into backers and dollars. Most of the people that come over from social media are like close friend of yours that maybe would have heard about it a different way anyway. You get the biggest conversion rates on direct email, like email list, right? And from Kickstarter itself. Again, internal promotion via Kickstarter putting you in front of people who back other campaigns, or people from your previous campaigns that are returning. They back Jump 1, so they get all these emails saying, as soon as you launch Jump 2, they're like, hey, Riley just launched Jump 2. You should look at this one. Even if they back the Peacekeepers, they'll get an email saying, hey, Rylend launched a new campaign. You should check this out. And so, in my experience, most of the money comes from Kickstarter internally, which is a big deal, which again is why you want to get on there, why this is a fan base builder. A ton comes from you directly emailing people and sending them to this thing, and then a very small percentage of it comes from Facebook or Twitter. I seem to get more from Twitter. You can, with Twitter, like you can tweet about the thing 20 times in a day and not piss people off. right? And people will see it. And a lot of that can be like, when I went live, your friends say like, hey, I just backed this campaign, check it out. And then you can retweet that. And so it's not you tweeting about the campaign, it's Charlie Stickney tweeting or Eric Tapper tweeting about the campaign, right? And so I can quote retweet it and be like, thanks, Eric. And then I'm just thinking Eric, but really what I'm doing is subtly putting my campaign back in front of you, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's my social media advice, but with the caveat that I haven't figured it out. So I'm there are a lot of people that don't, like Charlie Stickney is, I keep mentioning Charlie because he's a whiz at this stuff, but he's really good at it and he barely uses social media because it doesn't. Russell Noelty is another one who's like raised hundreds of thousands of dollars on Kickstarter and he barely uses social media.
I'll add that in terms of different types of social media, one place to go that is much more conversation oriented than sort of posting and superficial that kind of thing is Discord, and you can go and meet a lot of different creators and communities in Discord. Global Comics has one. I just posted it in the chat, but Russell Noelty has a comics Discord as well. He has a channel that you guys can join. There's also just comic communities. There's all those different kinds of places where you can go and build a community in social media without it having to necessarily be a performative act. You still need to show up and add value and be a participant, but you'll probably have much more quality connections and something like that.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Well, Rylend, I have to say, I think I speak for everybody that's still here and everybody at Global Comics. Thank you so much. This was a 2-hour and 42-minute extravaganza, but it's completely recorded. It will be available for everybody to reference and watch and share for generations to come. And it was amazing. You shared so much great information, so thank you.
Yeah, again, we would absolutely love you to check out the Jump on Kickstarter. Again, projects live and die based on pledges in the first 48 hours. We're trying to tweak that algorithm still, so even $1 helps get our backer count up and helps tweak that algorithm. So give us a look. It's a great book. I'm so proud of it. So check it out. And thank you so much for listening. And I did not expect this to go like 3 hours, but it was fun.
Absolutely. And I just pasted the link for the Jump in the chat, so be sure to check that out. And we will see all of you very soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.